The key landed between the gravy boat and Tom's chipped red mug. For one foolish second, I thought Melanie had found it under a cushion. I'd been looking for that spare since Thanksgiving, when she let herself in to borrow my roasting pan while I was at the grocery store. Then she pushed it toward me with one finger. "We changed our code," she said, "and we're returning this." I looked from the key to my daughter. Behind her, Erin was in the dining room fitting lids onto plastic containers with the concentration of a surgeon. Containers I had bought, food I had cooked. "What does my house key have to do with your door code? We're ending the open door thing. It's gotten unhealthy." Her voice dropped, although there were only 3 of us in the house. "We don't want you dropping by." The unanswered part sat between us, heavier than the key. If she didn't want me entering her home, why was she returning the key to mine? And why had she waited until after Christmas dinner to do it? I picked it up. The small strip of green tape I'd wrapped around the top was frayed at the edges. Tom had labeled our spare keys with different colors during the year he started forgetting which was which. Green was Melanie. Blue was Grant. Yellow had gone to our next-door neighbor, who moved to Arizona and mailed it back in a sympathy card after Tom died. I had kept Melanie's green one active because removing it had felt like removing a person. "I don't drop by," I said. Her mouth tightened. That was Melanie's tell. At 41, she still pressed her lips together exactly the way she had when she was about to tell me that technically she hadn't lied. "You came over last Tuesday. You told me you were sick. I said I had a cold. You sounded terrible. I sounded congested, Mom. That's what a cold is. I brought soup. You let yourself in." I rang the bell twice. I was home. Yes, I noticed that eventually. She glanced toward the dining room. Erin snapped a lid onto the sweet potatoes. "These are the good containers, right?" "They're the only containers," I called. "Should we bring them back?" I stared at the back of his head. Melanie answered for me. "Of course we'll bring them back." Erin gave a little salute without turning around. It was the kind of move he used when he sensed tension, but hoped charm might get him across the room without stepping in it. He was 43 years old and could run a meeting with 20 people, but one unhappy woman in a kitchen made him study leftovers like ancient artifacts. Melanie nudged the key closer, although my fingers were already around it. When I came in, I said, "You were crying. That's not the point. You didn't answer because you were crying. That's really not the point." I left. "After you saw us, I saw you sitting at the kitchen table. I saw Erin standing by the sink. I didn't see state secrets." Erin's shoulders stopped moving. Melanie lowered her voice further. "Can you please not do this tonight?" I almost laughed, not because anything was funny, but because I had been awake since 5 that morning making Christmas happen. And apparently, Christmas had ended the moment the pie plates were empty. That morning, Melanie had arrived 27 minutes late carrying a poinsettia and no coat. It was 42 degrees outside. "Where's your coat?" I'd asked. "In the car." "Then why didn't you wear it from the car?" "I survived the driveway. You're going back out there. Not if you stop assigning me trips." Then she kissed my cheek and handed me the poinsettia like a peace offering from a foreign government. Erin came in behind her with 2 bottles of wine tucked under one arm and a canvas bag full of presents. "Your daughter tried to make me buy a 3rd bottle," he said. "Because you drink like a nervous priest when you're here," Melanie said. "I'm not nervous. You rearranged the trunk twice. Load distribution matters." They had been bickering lightly, almost cheerfully, or that was how it sounded when I wanted Christmas to be good. I hung Melanie's purse on the hook by the back door. She took it down and moved it to a dining chair. She'd been doing that lately, undoing tiny things I did for her, as if hanging a purse contained a hidden obligation. Lunch had stretched into dinner because neither of them wanted turkey at noon, though no one had mentioned that before I put the turkey in at 8. I adjusted. I always adjusted. We opened presents, drank coffee, called Grant in Colorado, and made fun of the wreath he had hung crooked behind him. "Mom, don't tell him," Melanie whispered when Grant's face filled the tablet screen. "He knows." "I can hear you," Grant said. "You're supposed to." Grant asked to see the angel over the kitchen doorway. Tom had made it in a woodworking class during the only 6 months of his life when he believed he might become a man with hobbies. One wing was larger than the other, and the face looked mildly alarmed. I carried the tablet into the kitchen. "There she is," Grant said. "Still ugly," Melanie called. "She has character," I said. "She has a neurological condition. Be respectful. Your father worked very hard on that neurological condition." We all laughed, even Grant. For a few minutes, Tom's absence felt like a chair we could walk around without bruising ourselves on it. That was the trick of holidays after someone died. You could have a good hour and mistake it for healing. By the time Grant hung up, Melanie had started clearing plates before Aaron finished eating. He guarded his stuffing with one hand. "I'm still working here. You've been working on that plate since Mom started telling Grant about her gutter estimate. It's Christmas. I'm savoring. You're avoiding cleanup." He pointed his fork at me. "Evelyn, tell your daughter that eating is a necessary part of cleanup. I don't enter marital disputes without soup." That had done it. Melanie's plate hit the counter harder than it needed to. Aaron looked at me, then at her. "She's joking." I know. But she didn't know, or she knew too well. After Tuesday, I had waited until Wednesday afternoon to call. I thought that was restraint. In my mind, a mother who had seen her daughter crying was allowed one night of silence, not two. Melanie had answered on the 5th ring. "I'm fine," she said before I asked. "I was calling to see how your cold is." "My cold is fine, too." There had been a pause. "Is everything all right with you and Aaron?" "Mom." "What?" "This is why I didn't want you coming in. You didn't tell me you didn't want me coming in. You gave me the code. For emergencies. You sounded like you needed soup. Soup isn't an emergency. That depends on the soup." She did not laugh. I should have stopped. I can admit that now. I should have asked whether she needed anything else, accepted her no, and gotten off the phone. Instead, I said, "You looked very upset." "Because we had an argument." "About what?" "That's between us." "Of course it is." I had said it too quickly, in the special tone mothers use when we want credit for accepting a boundary we have already leaned across. Now, on Christmas night, Melanie stood in my kitchen returning the key she had used for years. She had used it when Tom fell in the bathroom and I couldn't lift him. She had used it to bring clean clothes after I spilled coffee down myself before his memorial service. She had used it in October to leave 6 boxes in my basement without asking because, as she put it, "You have the room." I turned the key over in my palm. "Did Aaron ask you to do this?" Her eyes flashed. "We discussed it." That wasn't an answer, and we both knew it. From the dining room, Aaron said, "Mel." She didn't look at him. "What?" I said we should talk to her. "We are talking." I meant together. "You're right there." He came to the kitchen carrying 3 stacked containers. The top one held nearly half the pecan pie. I had cut it that way because he loved it. He set them down carefully. "Evelyn, this isn't supposed to be a big dramatic thing. Then you picked the wrong prop." He looked at the key. For a moment, his face did something I couldn't name. Surprise, maybe. Not at the conversation. At the object. Melanie folded her arms. "It's symbolic." "Of what?" I asked. "Mutual respect." "Mutual?" "Mom, if you have open access to our place and we have open access to yours, nobody thinks before walking in. I don't have a key to your place. You have the code." "Had?" "Yes, had. And in return, you're giving up your key to my house. That's what mutual means." Aaron rubbed one hand over his jaw. He had shaved that morning, but gray roughness already showed along his chin. I looked at him. "Do you want to give up the key?" He glanced at Melanie. There are whole marriages inside a glance. Requests, warnings, debts, old tenderness, newer fatigue. "We want some privacy," he said. "That's not what I asked." "Evelyn," he said gently, "Tuesday was uncomfortable. For you, for everybody. You were the only person not crying." "Mom, stop." Melanie's voice cracked like a dish in hot water. "This is exactly what I mean. You noticed something. And then you keep picking at it until everybody has to explain themselves to you. I asked one question. You asked one question 5 different ways. I was worried. I didn't ask you to be. That shut the room up. The refrigerator motor clicked off. Somewhere in the living room, the old mantel clock began striking 8, 2 minutes late as usual. Erin looked down at the pie. Melanie's eyes shone, but she didn't cry. She'd always been able to decide where she would and wouldn't cry. I envied that. I set the key beside Tom's mug. Fine, I said. Her shoulders loosened a fraction. Thank you. I said fine. I didn't say thank you. Can we please not turn this into punishment? I looked at the containers lined up on my counter. Turkey, stuffing, sweet potatoes, green beans, pie. Enough food to make it unnecessary for them to cook until Thursday. What would punishment look like? She stared at me. That tone. I'm trying to understand the rules. There aren't rules. There are always rules, especially when someone says there aren't. Erin let out a breath that might have been a laugh in a safer room. Melanie shot him a look. He picked up the containers. I'll take these to the car. Take the poinsettia, too, I said. Melanie frowned. That was for you. I know. It drops leaves everywhere. You said it was beautiful. It is beautiful. It also drops leaves everywhere. Both things can be true. Erin escaped with the food. Melanie stayed. For half a second, I thought she might come around the counter and hug me. She used to do that after our worst arguments, hold on too tightly as if affection could erase the words before they dried. Instead, she lifted her purse from the dining chair. We'll call you this week. All right, and we'll bring the containers back. All right, we're not cutting you off. I looked at the green taped key. She followed my eyes, then looked away. At the back door, she paused under Tom's lopsided angel. Merry Christmas, Mom. Merry Christmas, Melanie. She stepped outside without a coat. I almost told her she would freeze. Almost. Through the window, I watched Erin fit the food into the trunk. Melanie stood with her arms folded against the cold while he shifted 2 bags to make room. She said something to him. He answered without looking at her. Then he stopped moving and turned toward the house. For one uneasy moment, I thought he might come back in. Melanie touched his arm. He looked at her, then at my kitchen window, and got into the car. Their taillights disappeared at the end of the street. I locked the back door and stood beneath the wooden angel, listening to the sudden sighs of my house. Then I noticed the gravy boat was missing. Beside the sink, where Melanie had stacked the dirty serving dishes, sat a folded note in her handwriting. Mom, we need the house next Saturday from 3 to 9 for the renovation deliveries. Please don't make plans. I read the note 3 times, as if a fourth might add the word please in a place where it meant something. It did say, please. That was almost worse. Please don't make plans. The handwriting leaned forward the way Melanie did when she walked, always half a step ahead of whoever was with her. She had written the note on the back of a grocery receipt. The front showed she'd bought sparkling water, dishwasher tablets, and a bottle of wine on Christmas Eve. At the bottom, a machine had wished her happy holidays in capital letters. I put the note under the green taped key and cleaned the kitchen. That took nearly an hour. The dining table had a pale ring where Erin's wine glass had sat, though I'd put coasters at every place. A serving spoon was under his chair. Melanie had left one perfect bite of turkey on her plate, a habit she'd had since she was a teenager, as if finishing everything might suggest she had enjoyed it too much. The missing gravy boat bothered me more than it should have. It had belonged to Tom's mother. White porcelain with a blue rim, not valuable, but shaped like a little lamp that had given up on being useful. Melanie hated it. Every year she said the lip dripped. I opened the refrigerator, checked the dishwasher, and looked inside the oven because grief and age will eventually make you search an oven for a gravy boat. Nothing. At 9:30, my phone buzzed. It was a photograph from Erin. The gravy boat sat buckled into the back seat of their car with the shoulder belt pulled across it. Safe and sound, he wrote. I laughed before I could stop myself. Then another message appeared. Mel says sorry. Not Melanie says sorry. Mel says sorry, as communicated by a nervous envoy from a neighboring country. I typed, "Tell Mel the gravy boat accepts her apology." 3 dots appeared, vanished, then appeared again. You're funny when you're mad. I looked at that for a while. I'm not mad, I wrote. The lie looked cheap on the screen, so I deleted it. Bring it Saturday, I sent instead. His thumbs up arrived immediately. I slept badly. Sometime after midnight, rain began tapping the bedroom windows. I kept thinking I heard Tom turn over beside me, but it was a branch brushing the gutter. At 2, I got up and moved the green key from the counter to the junk drawer. The drawer stuck halfway, caught on a roll of tape and 3 expired coupons. I shoved it closed with my hip. In the morning, the Christmas tree looked embarrassed by daylight. A strand of lights had gone out near the bottom, leaving the top glowing over a dark base. I ate toast at the kitchen counter and studied Melanie's note. At 10, I called her. She answered with the hollow, echoing sound of a bathroom behind her. "Hi, Mom. Everything okay?" "Yes." "What's wrong? Why does something have to be wrong?" "You called instead of texting. I've called you for 41 years. I know, but after last night, I'm calling about Saturday." "Oh, okay. We need the delivery sent to your address because the condominium association won't let the truck use the loading area after 4. They gave us a window from 3 to 7, which really means 3 to 9. What are they delivering? The cabinet fronts and some fixtures. It's not as much as it sounds. Where is it going? Your garage, probably. Maybe the basement for anything temperature sensitive. What cabinet part is temperature sensitive? I don't know, Mom. Adhesive? Finishes? Erin has the list. I spread her note flat with my fingertips. You could have asked me. I thought we talked about it. We did not. I mentioned the delivery last Sunday. You said the renovation schedule was a nightmare, and then I explained why. You said the loading rules were ridiculous. Yes, because they are. At no point did you say, "Can I have a truck unload cabinets into your garage on Saturday?" She went quiet. A faucet dripped on her end. I left a note telling me not to make plans, because I knew I'd forget before we left. You were standing 6 feet from me. We had just had a difficult conversation, so you waited until after the difficult conversation, wrote an order on a receipt, and hid it by the sink. I didn't hide it. You didn't hand it to me. I was trying not to start something else. I turned the receipt over. Dishwasher tablets were on sale. What if I had plans? Do you? That is not the point. The words came out in Melanie's exact rhythm. We both heard it. She sighed. No, it isn't. I should have asked. There it was, small, reluctant, but real. I could have made her work harder for it. Instead, relief rushed in so quickly it nearly embarrassed me. All right, I said. So Saturday is okay? Yes. Thank you. We'll be there before the truck. What time? 2:30. Then I'll expect you by 3:15. She laughed despite herself. We're not always late. You were born 9 days late. That wasn't a scheduling failure. I had somewhere to be. Apparently I didn't. For a few seconds, we sounded like ourselves, or the version of ourselves I kept trying to preserve. Then Melanie said, "And Mom?" "Yes?" "About last night. I don't want this to become a big thing." I looked toward the junk drawer. Neither do I. We love you. I love you too. That's not changing. No. And the boundary isn't meant to hurt you. I wanted to ask what it was meant to do. I wanted to ask whether she understood that returning a key carried a different message than changing a door code. Instead, I said, "Your soup container is in the blue recycling bin." "What?" "You left it here Tuesday. I washed it, but the lid is cracked. Just throw it away." I did. That's why it's in the recycling. Okay? After we hung up, I stood in the kitchen holding a cold piece of toast. At noon, Grant called. His face appeared sideways on the screen, one eye and half a beard. "You're sideways," I told him. "You're judgmental. I can see up your nose. You made me this way." "I did not make your nose." He rotated the phone. Behind him was a white wall and the crooked wreath from Christmas, still listing toward his left shoulder. "I was calling to see if you survived," he said. Christmas. Melanie. I carried my coffee to the living room. Why wouldn't I survive, Melanie? She called me last night. Of course she did. She said there was an incident. An incident is when a shopping cart rolls into your car. She returned my house key. Grant blinked. Why? Mutual respect. That sounds like a phrase you're supposed to say while pushing a form across a table. She and Aaron don't want me dropping by. Do you drop by? I took her soup. That is not what I asked. I used the code because she didn't answer. His face changed, not dramatically. Grant had inherited Tom's ability to express concern by becoming very still. Was she okay? She had a cold. Mom. She and Aaron had argued. I left. Then what? Then I called the next day, and I asked about it. How many times? I leaned back in the chair. Why does everyone keep counting my questions? Because you ask the same one in different clothes. That sounds like something your sister says. It is. She's not wrong about everything just because she's wrong about some things. You think she was right to give back the key? No. He answered too quickly for it to be diplomacy. I took a sip of coffee. It had already gone lukewarm. Grant rubbed his beard. But I understand changing the code. I understand changing the code. Do you? Yes. Because you said that like a woman being forced to read a statement. I should not have entered. I apologized. Good. She still has 6 boxes in my basement. Those 2 things can both be true. Now you sound like me. Terrifying. I told him about the note and Saturday's delivery. He listened without interrupting, which was usually a sign that he was constructing a response I would dislike. Finally, he said, "Are you okay with that?" I said yes. That wasn't my question. I don't know yet. Then find out before a truck fills your garage. You make it sound like she's moving in. She kind of never moved out. That landed differently than he intended. He saw it. I don't mean emotionally, he said. Thank you for specifying. I mean her stuff. The basement, the garage shelves, the old dresser in your guest room. The dresser was your grandmother's. And Melanie put sweaters in it in 2009. She may still want them. She hasn't wanted those sweaters through 3 presidents. I smiled. Grant leaned closer to his screen. Mom, don't agree because you think saying no will prove whatever she said about you. I'm not proving anything. All right, don't use that voice. What voice? The voice that means you don't believe me but would like credit for being quiet. He grinned. You taught me that one. When we hung up, I went downstairs. The basement smelled like dust, detergent, and the faint dampness Tom had spent 20 years claiming he would fix in spring. Melanie's 6 boxes were stacked beside the furnace. There were actually 8. 2 had Aaron, office written across them. Beside those stood a lamp without a shade, 3 framed prints, a rolled rug, and a dining chair with 1 loose rung, all Melanie's. On top of the boxes lay a yellow legal pad. In my handwriting, I had listed Christmas groceries from 2 years earlier. Melanie had used the lower half of the page to calculate how many chairs we would need. Mom plus Mel plus Aaron plus Grant equals 4. Then she had added Louise and drawn a question mark so hard the paper had torn. I carried the pad upstairs and put it beside her note. Saturday, Melanie arrived at 3:10, which counted as early for her. She rang the doorbell. I was in the kitchen slicing lemons, but the sound stopped me. She rang again. When I opened the door, she stood on the porch with her hands buried in her coat pockets. Aaron was behind her carrying the rescued gravy boat in both hands. Melanie looked past me into the house. This feels ridiculous, she said. What does? Ringing your bell. Aaron held out the gravy boat. The patient made a full recovery. I took it from him. Thank you. Melanie shifted her weight. Are you going to let us in? Of course. I stepped aside. She crossed the threshold and immediately reached toward the hook where I used to hang her purse. Her hand stopped halfway. She had no purse. For a second, neither of us moved. Then a truck groaned at the curb, brakes squealing, and Aaron turned toward the window. That'll be them. Melanie pulled a folded inventory from her pocket. We need to clear the garage. They said there are 27 pieces. I stared at her. 27? Some of the pieces are small. The delivery took 2 hours. By 5:30, my garage held 11 long cartons, 4 crates, 6 boxes of hardware, 2 sinks, and something wrapped in gray padding that nobody could identify. The crew stacked the cabinet fronts along the back wall, blocking the shelves where I kept detergent, light bulbs, and Tom's old toolbox. Melanie directed everyone with brisk efficiency. Not there. Against the other wall. Careful with that corner. Mom, can you move your Christmas bins? Where? Just inside for now. The bins came into the kitchen. The rolled rug from the basement went behind my sofa to make room for the temperature-sensitive adhesive, which apparently did exist. When the truck finally left, Aaron opened the refrigerator. Do we have anything to eat? Melanie was checking boxes against the inventory. Mom made turkey. Melanie took the turkey, I said. She glanced up. There's probably some left. In your refrigerator. Oh. Aaron closed the door. Melanie looked around at the crowded kitchen, the Christmas bins, the inventory sheets, and the muddy footprints leading in from the garage. Could we order pizza? We? I asked. Her face tightened. Then she caught herself. Mom, she said carefully, would you like pizza? I looked at my daughter standing in the middle of my house, asking permission because she no longer had a key. Yes, I said, but you're cleaning the floor first. Melanie cleaned the floor so thoroughly I began to suspect she was punishing the tile. She found the mop without asking, filled the bucket, and moved every chair away from the table. Aaron offered to help once, received a look, and sat down to compare pizza places on his phone. There's that new one on Fulton, he said. The crust is too thin, Melanie replied. You've never had it. I saw a picture. Pictures make things look thinner. No, they make things look better. That crust looked bad in the picture. I put the gravy boat in the cupboard. There's Bellini's. Aaron looked relieved. Bellini's is solid. Bellini's is greasy, Melanie said. You ate 3 pieces last time. I was hungry. That's what pizza is for. She ran the mop under his chair hard enough to strike one shoe. Aaron lifted both feet. Bellini's it is. I ordered a large with sausage and mushrooms, then added a plain cheese because Melanie said she wasn't very hungry. Melanie always ate plain cheese when she wasn't hungry. Half the family's leftovers were created by refusing to call her hungry in advance. While we waited, Aaron carried the Christmas bins downstairs. The boxes in the basement narrowed the path enough that he had to turn sideways. There's more down here than I remember, he called. Melanie wrung out the mop. It's mostly Mom's. I leaned over the basement railing. The boxes labeled Aaron are mine? There was a pause. 2 of them, he called back. Apparently. Melanie concentrated on the mop. Aaron came upstairs empty-handed. A cobweb had attached itself to his hair, trembling above his left ear. I reached up and pulled it away. You're blocking access to the furnace, he said to Melanie. Not anymore. I moved them. To where? The other side. The other side is the water heater. They're not touching it. That's not the same as access. She planted the mop in the bucket. Do you want to go reorganize the basement right now? No. Then I solved the problem. Tom and I had been married 46 years. I recognized the sound of an argument put on a leash. Aaron wiped his forehead with his sleeve. How long will the cabinets be here? Until they install them. I know how cabinets work. When is that? Monday. I looked toward the garage door. This Monday? The next one, Melanie said. Aaron looked at her. You told me the 3rd. That is the 3rd. The 3rd is a Friday. No, it isn't. He took out his phone. Melanie's face changed before he even opened the calendar. Fine. Then Friday, which means 6 days, which means less than a week. He held the phone up. The 3rd is 5 weeks from now. The room became very quiet. Melanie took the mop bucket to the sink. That can't be right. Aaron showed her the screen. She stared at it, then pressed one finger against the date as if the number might move out of embarrassment. Oh. I opened the garage door. The cabinet cartons made a beige wall from one side to the other. My car sat in the driveway under a sky the color of dirty wool. 5 weeks? I asked. They told me the 3rd. They assumed you knew which month, Aaron said. Why would they schedule delivery 5 weeks before installation? Because you selected a custom finish and they didn't want to hold it. We selected a custom finish. You selected it. I said white. White looks cheap. White looks like cabinets. I closed the garage door. Melanie turned to me. We can figure something out. What? Some of it can go downstairs. Your boxes are downstairs. We can consolidate. Into what? She looked around my kitchen, as though storage space might be hiding behind the curtains. We could move a few things to Grant's room. It has been the guest room for 20 years. You still call it Grant's room. I also still call you my little girl. I'm aware time has passed. The doorbell rang. Aaron volunteered to get the pizza with such speed that he nearly slipped on the wet floor. We ate at the kitchen table because the Christmas bins crowded the dining room. Melanie folded her slice in half and held it over the plate to catch the oil. This is why I don't like Bellinis, she said, taking a second bite. Aaron looked at me. She's going to eat 4 pieces. 3, Melanie said. 4. Do you want to make a bet? Not with my money. She kicked him lightly under the table. They could be good together. That was what made Tuesday feel so unsettling. A couple who fought constantly would have made sense. Melanie and Aaron teased, shared the ends of sandwiches, and reached for the same napkin without thinking. Their arguments seemed to rise from nowhere, sharp and airless, then vanish before anyone could ask what had happened. I ate half a slice. Mom, Melanie said, I'm sorry about the cabinets. Thank you. I really thought it was next week. I believe you. We'll try to move them sooner. Where? We'll ask the contractor. Aaron made a small sound. She turned to him. What? He doesn't have storage. You don't know that? I asked. When? When you were yelling at the countertop place. I wasn't yelling. I was explaining. You explained until they put you on hold. She looked at me. We'll work it out. That was the phrase Tom used whenever he had no idea what to do, but wanted people to stop talking until he did. I set my pizza down. My car stays in the garage. Melanie blinked. For 5 weeks? In winter? Yes. The driveway is right there. I can see it. You used to park outside all the time. When your father filled the garage with wood, he never turned into furniture. I didn't like it then either. We can cover the car. With what? Another cabinet? Aaron coughed into his napkin. Melanie's eyes narrowed at him, but her mouth twitched. Against her will, she laughed. I did too. The laughter loosened something, though not enough. We agreed that Aaron would call the contractor on Monday. If the cabinets could not be moved, they would rearrange the garage so my car would fit. Melanie offered to come back the next afternoon, but I told her no. Sunday was the one day I planned to do nothing. You have plans to do nothing? She asked. Very elaborate plans. Do they involve slippers and disrespectable television? I'm jealous. You could try it. She looked at Aaron. No, I couldn't. He was blotting grease from his 3rd slice. Before leaving, Melanie wiped the table, rinsed the plates, and packed the extra pizza into one of my containers. She noticed me watching. What? Nothing. You're counting the containers now? I'm admiring how naturally they migrate. She set the lid down. Do you want the pizza? No. Then why does it matter what carries it? It doesn't. She waited. It's a joke, I said. You keep making jokes that don't feel like jokes. You keep doing things that would be rude if I described them plainly. Aaron froze with his coat halfway on. Melanie looked at the container, then pushed it toward me. Keep it. I don't want it. Neither do I now. Food doesn't change flavor because we argue. Everything changes flavor when we argue. She put on her coat. This time, at least, she had brought one inside. Aaron took the pizza container. I want it. Neither of us stopped him. At the door, Melanie kissed my cheek. The kiss was brief, but not false. We'll call Monday, she said. About the garage. Yes. Good night. She stepped onto the porch. Erin leaned close while she walked toward the car. The gravy boat really did wear the seatbelt all the way home. I appreciate your commitment. He smiled, then lowered his voice. She's wound pretty tight right now. About the renovation? About everything. Is everything something I'm allowed to ask about? His smile disappeared. Melanie opened the passenger door. Erin, coming. He touched my shoulder once and followed her. The temperature dropped overnight. When I woke, frost silvered my car in the driveway. I stood at the window in my robe looking from it to the garage packed with somebody else's kitchen. I made coffee and watched 2 episodes of a British detective show in which everyone lived in charming villages and discovered bodies before lunch. At 11, I reached for my phone to call Melanie. My hand stopped over her name. There was no emergency, no forgotten plan, nothing I could phrase as necessary. I put the phone down. It rang 10 minutes later. Melanie. Hi, I said too quickly. Did we leave the inventory there? I looked at the papers on the kitchen counter. Yes, can you take pictures of every page and send them to me? Now? If you can. I photographed 14 pages. The shadows from my hands covered some of the item numbers, so I did them again. Melanie replied with a heart. At 4 that afternoon, she texted that a sink might be missing. Could I check? The sinks were at the back of the garage behind 6 boxes and the padded, unidentified object. I put on Tom's old gardening gloves and climbed over a carton marked glass. Do not lay flat. Both sinks were there. I sent a photograph. Thank God, she wrote. On Monday morning, Erin called. The contractor can't take the cabinets, I assumed. But we can reorganize everything Wednesday and get your car inside. I have a dentist appointment Wednesday. What time? 2. We'll come at 5. At 4:30 Wednesday, Melanie texted that they were running late. At 5:15, she asked whether I could be home Thursday instead. On Thursday, the garage remained unchanged because Erin had a meeting and Melanie developed a headache. Friday brought freezing rain. My car wore a shell of ice thick enough that I had to pour lukewarm water around the doors. I was scraping the windshield with an old grocery loyalty card when Louise pulled into the driveway. She lowered her window. Did your garage burn down? No. Is it full of bodies? Cabinets. She considered that. Whose cabinets? Melanie's. Of course they are. Louise parked at the curb and came up the driveway carrying a paper bag. She was 69, 5 feet tall, and had the walking speed of someone fleeing a minor explosion. Her silver hair was pinned up with 2 pencils. What's in the bag? I asked. Scones. You hate scones. I hate bad scones. These may be good. I bought them so you could find out first. Inside, she took one look at the Christmas bins, still in my dining room. Did Christmas attack? I told her about the delivery, not the key. I wasn't ready to hear that story in my own voice. Louise bit into a scone and chewed suspiciously. So they changed your garage into their kitchen, she said, temporarily. How temporarily? 5 weeks. She put the scone down. This is a bad scone. That's your response? No. My response would hurt your feelings. My feelings are already hurt. She studied me. I looked away first. The next Tuesday, Melanie came for the inventory sheets. She did not go into the garage or mention my car. Standing at the door, she said, Our anniversary is next month. I know. With the renovation, the condominium is going to be a mess. I imagine so. We were thinking of keeping the dinner small, just a few close friends. Grant, if he can come. Louise, obviously. Obviously? She ignored that. It would only be one evening. I waited. Melanie took a breath. Could we have it here? Have what here? Our anniversary dinner? At my house? It would be easier for everyone. I looked past her at the driveway where my car sat under another thin layer of frost. Everyone? I asked. Everyone, Melanie repeated. Except the person who lives here. You'd be invited. I let that sit between us. She heard it too, her cheeks colored. Obviously you'd be invited, she corrected. To my house. It's just a phrase. You have a lot of phrases lately. Can we talk about this without turning every word into evidence? I'm trying to understand what you're asking. A dinner. 10 people. Maybe 12. We would take care of the food and everything. Everything? Food, drinks, cleanup, tables? We could use yours. My table seats 8 if everyone likes each other. We can add the card table. Chairs? We'd figure it out. Coats? Mom. Your cabinets have my garage. Your old clothes have my basement. Your Christmas bins have my dining room because your cabinets displace them. You are asking to put 12 people in the remaining space. She folded the inventory sheets against her chest, the papers bent in the middle. I thought you'd be happy we wanted to celebrate here. Why? Because this is the family house. The family house? You know what I mean. I did know, and that was the problem. The family house was where everyone else arrived and I made room. It was where food appeared, coats vanished, bathrooms had extra toilet paper, and leftovers went home in containers no one remembered buying. I stepped back from the open door. Cold air had begun crawling around my ankles. Come inside, I can't stay. You're asking to use my house for an evening, but you can't come in for 5 minutes? I left the car running. Turn it off. She looked toward the street, although her car was parked directly in front of the house. The exhaust made a white cloud behind it. Finally, she stepped inside and closed the door. I led her to the kitchen. The inventory pages went onto the counter beside the Christmas grocery list and her note. She noticed the note immediately. You kept that? It's been 6 days. Why is it lying out? Because it's paper, Melanie. It doesn't need refrigeration. She saw the legal pad beneath it, my old shopping list on one side, and her calculation of Christmas chairs on the other. What's that? Something from the basement. She picked it up. Mom plus Mel plus Aaron plus Grant equals 4. Her thumb covered Louise. I don't remember writing this. It was 2 Christmases ago. Why was it downstairs? It was on your boxes. She put it back. You went through my things? No. I looked at the things occupying my basement. Those boxes are sealed. I didn't open them, but you were looking. It is difficult not to look at 8 boxes stacked beside a furnace. 6, 8. 2 have Aaron's name. She shut her eyes briefly. I could almost see her rearranging the conversation in her head, searching for a place where I had become unreasonable first. We'll move them, she said. When? After the renovation. That's what you said before the renovation. We didn't have room then. You don't have room now. We will when it's done. How does a new kitchen create room for sweaters? Her eyes opened. Do you want us to have the dinner here or not? I haven't decided. It's 3 weeks away. Then you should have asked 3 weeks ago. We didn't know the work would fall behind. The work hasn't started. Exactly. I pulled out a chair. Sit down. She stayed standing. Why does this dinner matter so much? It's our 15th anniversary. I know how long you've been married. Then why are you asking? Because you and Aaron don't usually have anniversary parties. Last year you went to the steak place downtown. The year before that you ordered Chinese food and watched a documentary about a man who lived with bears. He was studying them. He was eaten. That wasn't his fault. I'm not criticizing him. I'm asking why this year requires 12 people and my dining room. She looked down at the folded inventory. Our friends keep asking what we're doing. Tell them you're living without cabinet doors. It's not about the renovation. What is it about? She pressed her mouth into that narrow line. I waited. Finally, she said, 15 years is a big deal. Yes. And it would be nice to have one normal evening. Normal. There it was, lying on the counter next to the key she couldn't see. I thought of her crying at her kitchen table and Aaron standing by the sink. I thought of the way his face had changed when he saw the green key on Christmas. I could have asked what was wrong. I had been told very clearly not to. Instead, I asked, what would you need from me? Her shoulders came down. Just the house. Nothing is just the house. We'd bring dinner. From where? We haven't decided. Catering? Maybe. Because I'm not cooking for 12 people. I would never expect that. We both looked toward the refrigerator where a single serving of Christmas stuffing remained because I had hidden it behind the mustard. "All right," I said, 12 people maximum. You handle the food, the chairs, the drinks, and the cleanup. The garage needs to be cleared enough for my car before then, and the Christmas bins go back downstairs." Melanie smiled. It happened quickly, like sunlight through a break in clouds. She came around the counter and hugged me. "Thank you." Her cheek was cold against mine. I said, "Maximum. I heard you. No one sleeps here." "Why would anyone sleep here?" "Because phrases become people." She pulled back. "You're being strange. I'm being specific. We'll handle everything." She kissed my cheek and gathered the inventory pages. At the door, she paused. "Do you still have Dad's linen tablecloth?" "I do. The long one." "Yes. That would look nice?" "I thought you were handling everything. A tablecloth isn't handling. It's a tablecloth." She opened the door before I could answer. "We'll call tonight about the garage," she said. The call came the next afternoon. Aaron apologized twice before explaining that the contractor had pushed installation back another week. He and Melanie would come Saturday to rearrange the garage. "The Saturday?" I asked. "Yes." "What time?" 10. "Should I translate that?" 9:30, he said. "I'll make her set an alarm." They arrived at 10:40 with coffee and bagels. Melanie carried a clipboard. Aaron carried the apology. "It started snowing," he said. "It started snowing 5 minutes ago. We were delayed by the possibility. Moving the cabinets became an exercise in measuring space no one could create. We shifted long cartons to one wall, stacked hardware on Tom's workbench, and moved the 2 sinks into the basement. Aaron found the loose dining chair behind Melanie's boxes. "Do you want me to fix this?" he asked. "Can you?" "Probably." Melanie laughed from behind a carton. "No. I own tools. You own one screwdriver with interchangeable heads. That's multiple screwdrivers in a committed relationship." He took the chair upstairs. By noon, we had cleared a narrow space in the garage. I backed my car in while Melanie stood near the wall making frantic circles with one hand. "Turn, turn." "I am turning. You're too close to the cabinets. The car has mirrors. So do hospitals. They still have nurses. What does that mean? I don't know. Stop." I stopped. There were 3 inches between the passenger door and the cabinet cartons. I could open the driver's side far enough to get out if I held my breath and did not bring groceries. Aaron studied the arrangement. "It fits." "A coffin fits," I said. "That doesn't make it convenient." Melanie wiped dust from her gloves. "It's temporary." I looked at her. She sighed. "I know. 5 weeks. 6 now. 6. We went inside for bagels. Aaron had repaired the chair well enough that it no longer wobbled. He sat in it proudly until Melanie warned him not to lean back. While we ate, she opened her clipboard. So, for the anniversary, I was thinking drinks in the living room, then dinner at 7. I poured more coffee. "Who is coming?" She read names. 2 couples I knew. One I had met once, Aaron's sister Rebecca and her partner Louise, and Grant if he could fly in. "That's 11 with me," I said. 12 with Mom, Aaron said. Melanie tapped the clipboard. "Right. You didn't count me?" "I did. I just forgot to write you down. In my own house. You're not a guest. I thought I was invited." "You are. You're hosting." "No, you're hosting. I'm providing the building." Aaron studied his bagel. Melanie crossed out something and wrote "Mom" at the bottom of the page. "There," she said. "Official." I should have laughed. I didn't. She moved on to food. The restaurant they liked could prepare beef tenderloin, potatoes, and salad, but the price was higher than she expected. "They charge per person," she said, offended by the entire structure of commerce. "That's how feeding people works," Aaron said. "We could do some things ourselves. You said we were catering." I said maybe. "You said you'd handle food." "I am handling it. I'm discussing options." "With me, because it's your kitchen." "Exactly." She tapped her pen against the clipboard. "Your potatoes are better anyway." "No, I haven't asked yet." "You're asking with your face. It would be one dish for 12 people. I'd peel them. No, you wouldn't. I could. You'd arrive 40 minutes late with a bag of potatoes. Aaron covered his mouth, but not before I saw the smile. Melanie glared at him. Do you have anything useful to contribute? I vote catering. You vote spending. It's our anniversary. It's one dinner. The way she said it made him put down his coffee. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Aaron said quietly, I thought it was a big deal. Melanie's expression shifted. It is. You just said, I meant the food, right? She looked at the clipboard and drew a box around the restaurant's name. I watched them not look at each other. I'll make the potatoes, I said. Both heads turned toward me. Melanie smiled first. Really? One dish. You buy everything. Bring it here the day before and peel them. Yes, and I'm sitting down for dinner. I'm not serving 12 people. Of course. Aaron looked at me for a second longer than necessary. Thank you, Evelyn, he said. Melanie closed the clipboard. And the cake, she said. We thought maybe the bakery that did Dad's 70th. Your father hated that cake. He ate 2 pieces. Your husband ate 4 slices of pizza he didn't like. Aaron pointed at me. This family remembers too much. Melanie laughed, and the tension passed so neatly I almost wondered if I had imagined it. After they left, I found the clipboard on the table. Under the guest list, Melanie had written a second list. Tablecloth, candles, Dad's wine glasses, Mom's potatoes, extra chairs, ice bucket, serving platters. At the very bottom, beneath cleanup, she had written Mom and circled it twice. I touched the circled word with the tip of my finger. Mom, not Evelyn, not guest, not even potatoes. Mom, followed by a question mark, filed beneath cleanup like an uncertain household product. I took a picture of the page and sent it to Melanie. Did you forget something? The message showed as delivered. No answer came. I waited 10 minutes, then 20. At 45, I saw that she had read it. 3 dots appeared and vanished twice. Finally, she wrote, I left my clipboard? Yes. Can you keep it there? I'll get it tomorrow. That was all. I typed, What did you mean by cleanup, Mom? Before I could send it, the phone rang. Louise. I have purchased another scone, she announced. Why? To determine whether the first one was an accident. Was it? No. The bakery is hostile. You drove across town to confirm that? I was nearby. Where? The pharmacy next door. You use a pharmacy on the other side of town? I had a coupon. Louise's life was held together by errands that became investigations. Come over, I said. She arrived 20 minutes later with a wax paper bag and the kind of expression that meant she had already decided something was wrong from the way I answered the phone. I made tea. She cut the scone into 4 pieces, ate one, and pushed the plate away. Worse, she said. Consistency matters. The clipboard lay between us. What's that? Melanie's plan for the anniversary dinner. Louise pulled it toward her. Am I invited? You're on the list. Am I expected to bring my own chair? Not yet. She read the second list. When she reached the bottom, her eyes lifted to mine. Why is your name under cleanup? I don't know. Did you ask? She hasn't answered. You should be listed at the top, under house. I am not listed under anything. Louise checked the guest list. You're at the bottom. She forgot to write me down. How do you forget the woman whose dining room you're sitting in? She said I wasn't a guest. Staff. She didn't mean that? Then what did she mean? I got up to refill the kettle even though it was still half full. Louise watched me. What happened at Christmas? She asked. We had dinner, I know. I was asking about the thing you're not telling me. There is no thing. You've called me twice this week without complaining about my driving. Something happened. I leaned against the counter. She returned my key. Louise frowned. To her house? My house? That's a stupid sentence. I know. Why did she have your key? For emergencies, for family, because she's had it for years. Why did she return it? I told her about the soup, the changed code, and Melanie's declaration that no one would have open access anymore. I tried to tell it plainly. Louise made that difficult by snorting at specific intervals. When I finished, she stirred tea she had not sweetened. "You shouldn't have let yourself into their place," she said. "I know, even with soup, I know. Especially if you suspected something was wrong. I didn't suspect anything until I saw her. You called the next day." "I know, Louise. I'm making sure because you're doing that thing where you confess quickly so no one can describe the crime. It was not a crime." "That's why I said thing." I sat across from her. She tapped one purple-painted fingernail on the clipboard. "Returning your key was theater. Mutual respect. Nonsense. If she wants you to knock, you knock. Your key has nothing to do with it. She wanted the arrangement to be equal. Equal would be her not entering your house without asking. She doesn't anymore." Louise looked toward the garage. Her kitchen entered. I laughed before I meant to. "That's funny," she said. "You should write it down. I already made too many jokes." "According to whom?" I pointed at the clipboard. Louise ate another quarter of the bad scone. "Do you want this dinner here? I want them to have a nice anniversary. That is not what I asked. Grant says that. Grant is occasionally smart. I thought I did. Melanie said it would be one normal evening. For her. For all of us." Louise looked around my kitchen. Normal is a dangerous word in a family. Usually it means everyone returned to assigned positions. And what position am I in? She slid the clipboard toward me. The bottom. At 3 the next afternoon, Melanie rang the bell. I opened it before the second ring. "You could have answered my message," I said. I was in the tile showroom. Then Aaron and I had dinner with Rebecca. "You had your phone. I didn't want to have this conversation by text." "Which conversation?" She stepped inside, took off her coat, and put it on the back of the dining chair instead of handing it to me. "The question mark. Why is my name under cleanup? It wasn't an assignment. It looks like one. I was reminding myself to ask what you wanted. About cleaning my own house? About whether you wanted us to hire someone after." That surprised me enough that I said nothing. Melanie saw it and became bolder. "You always complain when people don't use the right cleaner on the table. I have complained once. You called the finish delicate. It is delicate. Your father refinished that table, which is why I wrote your name down. I wanted to ask whether you would rather handle it or show someone what to use." "Circled twice?" "I circle things I need to remember." "Why the question mark?" "Because I hadn't asked you." Her explanation was reasonable. That almost irritated me more than if she had admitted she expected me to scrub the kitchen after midnight. I opened the junk drawer and took out the green key. Melanie stared at it. "I found a place for it," I said. "No need to leave it on the counter. Why are you showing me?" "I don't know. That's not fair." "What isn't? Bringing it into every disagreement, you brought it into my kitchen. Once. You keep picking it up." I returned it to the drawer and closed it. Melanie pressed both palms against the counter. "I'm trying to do this party in a way that doesn't burden you. You're using my house." "Yes, because I thought it would mean something to you. It does mean something." "Then why are you acting like I'm taking advantage?" I looked toward the garage door. She followed my eyes. "The cabinets are temporary. So is a party. That doesn't mean it requires nothing from me. We're hiring a caterer." "Good. Not the expensive restaurant. Rebecca knows someone who does family-style dinners." "What does that mean?" "They drop everything off in foil pans. For us to heat, it's not difficult. In my oven." "Yes, Mom, food would be heated in your oven and served in my dishes. The foil pans can't go on the table." "Of course not. They clash with the mutual respect." She stepped back as if I had slapped the counter between us. "Do you hear yourself?" "Lately, yes. I came here to tell you that I was trying to save money and still make this nice." "For whom?" "For Aaron." The answer came fast and bare. Melanie looked down at the clipboard. I softened despite myself. "Does he want a party?" "He said he did." That wasn't my question. He wants to feel like 15 years matters, doesn't it? Of course it matters. She began straightening the papers, tapping their edges against the counter. I recognized the movement. Tom used to organize mail when he was trying not to say something. Then why do you sound angry at him for wanting it? I'm not angry. The tablecloth is delicate, but not that delicate. She put the papers down. We've had a hard year. There it was, not an explanation, but the edge of one. I waited. Melanie walked to the window. My car sat in the garage now, visible through the small pane in the interior door. We had managed to fit it after Aaron returned alone and moved 3 cartons upstairs into the guest room. A lot of marriages have hard years, she said. Yes, people argue, I know. It doesn't mean anything. Sometimes it means they're arguing. She gave me a tired look. This is why I didn't want to tell you. You haven't told me anything. Exactly. I could have asked if Tuesday's argument had been about the party, the renovation, money, or something worse. Instead, I picked up the clipboard and held it out. Take this. She accepted it. I don't think the dinner should be here, I said. For several seconds, she did not move. What? It has already become my oven, my dishes, my tablecloth, my potatoes, my cleaning instructions, and my house. You're stressed about the money. Aaron may not even want what you're planning. I don't think this is good for any of us. Her face emptied. You agreed. I agreed to provide the house while you handled everything. We are handling everything. You just explained how I'll heat and serve the food. You'd be here anyway. As a guest, you're my mother. Why are you suddenly talking like a rental agreement? Because you returned a key to make a point about terms. She looked at me as if she truly hated me for 1 second. Then she said, So this is punishment. No, you waited until we planned it. You planned it before asking me. We told people. You asked me last Tuesday, and you said yes. Yes, with conditions that have changed every time you walk through the door. They haven't changed. The guest list changed. The food changed. My role changed. Your role? Her voice rose. You're making potatoes, not entering military service. Then make your own potatoes somewhere else. The silence afterward was enormous. Melanie picked up her coat. I wanted to take the words back. Not the decision, just the sharpness. I'm sorry, I said. No, you aren't. I'm sorry I said it that way, but not for saying no. She put on her coat. Her fingers shook slightly at the buttons. What do you want from me? She asked. Right now? In general. I opened my mouth. Nothing simple came out. Melanie gave a short, humorless laugh. That's what I thought. She went to the door. The cabinets need to be gone before the dinner date, I said. She turned. I had not known I was going to say it until I did. My garage and guest room cannot stay full for a party that is not happening here. Her eyes widened. Where are we supposed to put them? I don't know. You know we don't have space. I know. The contractor won't take them. I know. So what exactly do you expect us to do? The key rested in the dark junk drawer behind me. Work it out, I said. Melanie's hand stayed on the doorknob. Work it out, she repeated. I heard how it sounded in her mouth. Cold, dismissive. A phrase passed back to her like a contaminated dish. I didn't mean, no, it's perfect. She opened the door. That's exactly what I'll do. She left before I could decide which part I hadn't meant. The door closed gently. That was worse than a slam. A slam leaves evidence of anger. A gentle closing makes you wonder whether the other person has simply finished with you. I stood in the hall with the smell of cold air and Melanie's perfume around me. Her car started. I counted to 10, then 20, then went to the living room window. She was still at the curb. Her head was bent over the steering wheel. For a second, I thought she might be crying. Then the screen of her phone lit her face. She typed with both thumbs, threw the phone onto the passenger seat, and drove away. I called her before she reached the end of the block. Voicemail. Melanie, I stopped. Whatever came after, I would sound like either retreat or accusation. I'm sorry this happened, I said. Call me when you get home. She did not call. At 9:30, she sent a message. We booked storage. They can pick everything up Tuesday. We'll remove the cabinets from the garage and guest room. Don't worry about the party. We found a restaurant. I read it several times. I didn't ask you to cancel the party, I typed. That was plainly untrue. I deleted it. I'm glad you found a solution, I typed. That sounded like a bank rejecting a loan. I deleted that too. Finally, I wrote, let me know what time Tuesday. Her answer came immediately. You don't need to be home. Aaron will handle it. I placed the phone face down. Tom's angel watched from over the kitchen doorway with its startled wooden eyes. What? I asked it. The angel had no useful opinion. Grant called the next morning. You move fast, I said. What did I do? Your sister called you. That doesn't mean I called you for her. It means she called you first. Mom. Grant. He sighed. Can we skip the part where you both make me prove I'm not secretly employed by the other? I didn't ask you to get involved. Neither did she, technically. She talked for 40 minutes and said she wasn't asking me to get involved 4 times. That sounds like asking, technically. I sat at the kitchen table. The green key was in the junk drawer behind me, and I hated that I was aware of it. What did she tell you? That you canceled their anniversary dinner and ordered her belongings out of your house. I did not order her belongings out. Cabinets, then. I told her they need to leave before the dinner date, which is in 2 weeks. She found storage, at a price that made her use language Dad would have admired. Your father did not swear about money. Dad swore when toast got stuck. That toaster was dangerous. Grant let a moment pass. Do you want me to tell you you're right? He asked. I want you to listen. I am listening. The dinner changed. She said she would handle everything. Then I was making food, warming food, supplying the dishes, cleaning afterward, and apparently being added to the guest list as an afterthought. Okay. And the cabinets have been here for weeks. Okay? And she returned my key while telling me I wasn't welcome in her home, then continued using mine like a warehouse. Okay? Stop saying okay. I'm showing you I'm listening. You sound like a hostage negotiator. What do you want me to say? I looked at the Christmas note, still lying beneath the old legal pad. I want someone to tell me I'm not imagining it. You're not imagining it. The certainty in his voice loosened something in my chest. Then he said, but you gave her the deadline because you were angry. I was angry because she was taking advantage. I know. Do you? Yes, I also know you. If the dinner had stayed, those cabinets could have remained until Easter and you would have squeezed around them while telling everybody it was fine. That is not true. You poured warm water on your car door rather than tell her to hire storage. I told her, after she made you mad enough. I traced a scratch in the table's finish with my fingernail. Grant continued, you're allowed to change your mind about the party. You're allowed to want your garage back. But there's a difference between setting a boundary and arranging for somebody to feel what you felt. I am not arranging anything. Then answer one question. All right, if she had apologized properly and invited you first, would the cabinet still have to leave in 2 weeks? I didn't answer. That's what I thought, he said. I hated hearing Melanie's sentence come out of his mouth. Do you practice being irritating, or does it come naturally? Dad trained me. Despite myself, I smiled. Grant's voice softened. She hurt you. Yes? You keep talking about the garage because it's easier than saying that. I have said it. To her? She knows. That wasn't my question. He had learned too much from me. The storage truck arrived Tuesday at 8:15 in the morning. I knew because the reverse alarm woke me. I pulled on a robe and looked through the bedroom window. Aaron stood in the driveway with a paper cup and a knit cap pulled low over his ears. 2 movers rolled the garage door open. Cold gray light fell across the cabinet cartons. I went downstairs. Aaron looked startled when I opened the interior door. Sorry, we were trying not to wake you. With a truck that beeps backward? He looked toward it. I didn't think that through. Would you like coffee? He raised his paper cup. I have some. That isn't coffee. That's a cup wearing a logo. He smiled, but tiredness sat heavily around his eyes. I made a pot anyway. The movers carried out the cabinets in the same awkward procession that had brought them in. One of the long cartons had been wedged against Tom's workbench. When they pulled it free, a jar of screws fell and scattered across the concrete. Aaron crouched immediately. "I've got it." I crouched too. For several minutes, we picked up screws with numb fingers while the movers stepped around us. "Melanie didn't come?" I asked. "She had an appointment at the tile place." "On purpose?" He glanced at me. "Probably." A screw rolled under the workbench. Aaron reached for it and knocked his cap sideways. "I'm sorry about all this," he said. "The cabinets?" He sat back on his heels. "All of it." I dropped 3 screws into the jar. "Did you ask her to return the key?" His hand stopped on the floor. "No." The answer was so direct that I looked at him. He adjusted his cap. "I didn't know she was going to do that." "You said we." "I wanted us to change the code." "Why?" "Because walking into the kitchen and finding you there was uncomfortable. I was only there a minute, I know. You were arguing, I know. She was crying." His jaw tightened. "I know, Evelyn." The movers carried out one of the sinks. I kept my voice low. "If you didn't want her to return the key, why didn't you say so? On Christmas? Anytime." He picked up another screw. "Because she wasn't wrong that we needed privacy. That's not the same thing." "No." "But you let it sound like it was." "Yes." There was no defense in his voice, which left me nowhere easy to place my anger. "Why return my key?" I asked. "You'd have to ask her. She doesn't answer questions she hasn't approved." A small smile appeared and vanished. "I think," he said carefully, "she wanted the conversation to feel finished." "Was it?" He looked toward the truck. "Does this feel finished?" One of the movers called for him to verify a carton number. Aaron stood. Before walking away, he said, "The restaurant has a private room. It'll be easier." "For everyone?" He flinched. I wished I hadn't said it. By noon, the garage was empty, except for Tom's workbench and a clean rectangle on the floor where the cartons had protected the concrete from dust. The 3 boxes in the guest room were gone. My Christmas bins were back in the basement. Aaron drank my coffee and fixed the loose handle on the garage cabinet without being asked. At the back door, he hesitated. "I would like you at the dinner," he said. "Then invite me." "It's not only my dinner." "No, it isn't." He put his hands in his coat pockets. "Mel's still angry." "So am I." I noticed. "Did you?" He nodded toward the garage. "It's much louder when you are." After he left, I parked my car in the center of the empty space. I opened both doors just because I could. The freedom felt petty and wonderful for about 30 seconds. Then it felt like emptiness. On the morning of the anniversary, a florist delivered white roses to my house by mistake. The card read, "15 years, I'd still choose you." I called the florist and gave them Melanie's address. They apologized and sent a driver to collect the vase. At 4, Melanie texted, "I know tonight is awkward. We decided to keep dinner small. I hope you understand." I looked at the message until the words blurred. Then I wrote, "Happy anniversary. 15 years matters." She reacted with a heart. At 6:30, Louise rang my bell carrying a bottle of wine and a foil-covered dish. "I did not invite you," I said. "No, I invited you. You refused. So I brought the invitation here." "What's under the foil?" "Lasagna." "Did you make it?" "I bought it from people who can. I'm not hungry." "Good. There's barely enough for 4. I looked past her. 2 women from her apartment building stood by a car, waving. "Who are they?" "Hungry." "I'm in slippers." "They have low standards." I almost said no. Then I thought of Melanie in a private restaurant room, protecting one normal evening. I thought of my own house holding its breath around me. "Give me 5 minutes," I said. When I came downstairs in shoes, Louise was at the kitchen counter. The junk drawer stood open. She held the green-taped key in her palm. "What are you going to do with this?" she asked. I closed my fingers over it. "I don't know yet," I said. I took the key from Louise and put it in my coat pocket. "I asked what you're going to do with it," she said. I heard you. You answered a different question. You've been talking to Grant. I have never spoken to Grant without you present. You would like him. Of course I would. He lives far away. She closed the junk drawer and picked up the lasagna. Come on. Marcy gets impatient when food is involved, and Elaine thinks being late is a personality. Which one was waving? Both. They're competitive. Louise's apartment was 10 minutes away, in a brick building with hallways heated to the temperature of bread. By the time we reached the 3rd floor, I was carrying my coat. Marcy opened the door before Louise knocked. Finally. She was a broad-shouldered woman with copper-colored glasses and a shirt covered in tiny lemons. Elaine stood behind her, holding a wooden spoon. We waited, Elaine said. We did not, Marcy said. I ate salad. Salad is waiting. Louise handed over the lasagna. This is Evelyn. We know, Marcy said. You've been described. I looked at Louise. Favorably, she said. Selectively, Elaine corrected. The apartment smelled like garlic and furniture polish. 4 places had been set at a round table beneath a hanging lamp that was much too low. Marcy had tied a dish towel around the bottom of it so no one would hit her head. What is that supposed to do? Louise asked. Warn people. It looks like the lamp surrendered. Elaine gave me a glass of wine. I had expected questions. Louise knew why I was there, and people love a fresh family injury when it belongs to somebody else. They can be outraged at no personal cost. Instead, Marcy complained about her building's washing machines. Elaine described a date who had brought his own tea bag to a restaurant, and Louise conducted a hostile review of the second bad scone. Halfway through dinner, Elaine asked if I had family nearby. A daughter, I said, Melanie, and my son Grant is in Colorado. Melanie is the one with the anniversary, Louise said. I kicked her under the table. She looked down. Was that you? No, I said. The apartment has aggressive plumbing. 15 years tonight, Louise continued. Marcy raised her glass. Good for her. Yes, I said. Good for her. No one asked why I wasn't at the celebration. They began arguing about whether 15 years required a party. Marcy believed any marriage surviving more than 10 years deserved cake. Elaine said cake encouraged people to stay together for the wrong reasons. What wrong reason? Marcy asked. Frosting? People have endured worse for less. The conversation moved on. That small mercy nearly undid me. I went to the bathroom and stood over the sink until the hot feeling behind my eyes passed, the key in my coat pocket pressed against my hip when I returned to the table. Later, Marcy produced a deck of cards. I had not played hearts in years. Tom used to accuse me of counting cards, although what he meant was that I remembered what had already happened. You're ruthless, Elaine said after I handed her the Queen of Spades. I'm observant. That's what ruthless people call it. We played until 10:30. Walking home from Louise's car, I noticed lights still burning in my kitchen. I had left them on deliberately, but for once the house looked less like it was waiting to accuse me. My phone had no missed calls. I set the key on my bedside table and went to sleep. 2 days later, I had my annual physical. The receptionist handed me a clipboard and told me to confirm that nothing had changed. My medications had not. My address had not. My insurance had changed the color of its card while remaining equally confusing. Under emergency contact, Melanie's name and number were printed from the previous year. Relationship daughter. I held the pen over the box. Nothing had happened to our relationship. That was what Melanie had said. We loved each other. The boundary was not meant to hurt me. But if I fell ill, someone needed access to my house. Someone needed to know where I kept the medication list and which cabinet door had to be lifted before it would close. Melanie had returned that access with a green piece of tape around it. Mrs. Harper? The receptionist was waiting. Sorry. I crossed out Melanie's name. The line went through the first 4 letters and caught on the paper. I had to do it again. I wrote Louise Benton. My eyes blurred so suddenly I misspelled her last name. The receptionist pretended to organize a stack of forms while I fixed it. She was a young-looking woman, though young-looking had become a category broad enough to include nearly everyone. She did not ask if I was all right. I was grateful. When I gave the clipboard back, she said, "We'll update that." Such a small sentence, as if a person could be updated by typing another person over her. I called Louise from the parking lot. "You're my emergency contact," I said. "Did you join a cult? I'm at the doctor." "What happened?" "Nothing." "It was a form." "You sound strange." "I had to put someone down, and you chose me?" "If that's all right." There was a pause. "Of course it's all right," she said. "Where are your important papers?" "In the desk in the den." "Which drawer?" "The bottom left. Do you have one of those medical lists people tape to the refrigerator? I'm 68, not a public building. Make one. I don't want my prescriptions displayed next to grocery coupons." "Then put it in an envelope." She had accepted the responsibility and begun issuing orders in under 30 seconds. "You'll need a key," I said. Another pause. "Yes, I'll have one made. You already have one." I looked through the windshield at the pharmacy across the lot. "How do you know? You put it in your coat pocket. That key has green tape. Take off the tape." My throat tightened. "I'll think about it. Think quickly. Emergencies are famously inconsiderate." On Thursday morning, Melanie texted, "Can you be home between noon and 4? Countertop samples are coming." I had promised Louise I would meet her at the fabric store. She wanted new curtains and believed I possessed opinions about blue that she lacked. I replied, "I won't be home then. Where will you be?" "Out. Can you change it? They need a signature." "No." Her response came after several minutes. "It's important. So are my plans." "What plans?" I stared at the question. For years, I had given Melanie details she had not requested: where I was going, when I would return, what route I would take. After Tom died, she had asked me to share my location through our phones. I agreed because she said it made her feel safer. Mine still showed her little circle moving through the city. I had never considered whether she could see mine. I opened the settings and turned location sharing off. The phone rang immediately. "What are you doing?" Melanie asked. "Getting dressed. Why did your location disappear?" I turned it off. "Why?" "Because you asked where I'm going as if I need permission to be unavailable. I need to know if you can sign for the samples. I told you I can't. You're not working. I assumed your plans were flexible." The sentence hurt more because she said it casually. "I am meeting Louise." "For what?" "Curtains. You can look at curtains any day. The samples can be delivered any day." "No, they can't. I had to wait for this slot." "Then you should have asked before you took it." She exhaled sharply. "Is this what everything is going to be now? What? A lesson? No, because it feels like you're waiting for opportunities to prove you have a life." I sat on the edge of my bed. "I shouldn't have to prove it. I didn't say you don't have one. You said curtains don't matter because I don't work. That isn't what I said. It is very close. The renovation is a mess, Mom. I'm trying to keep track of 50 things. And you put me down as the 51st without asking." She went silent. I almost gave in. The fabric store would still be there tomorrow. Louise would complain but understand. Melanie needed one signature. Then I thought of my name under cleanup with a question mark. "I won't be home," I said. "Fine." She hung up. The samples were returned to the distributor. Melanie collected them the following Monday from an office 40 minutes away. I knew because she sent me the route from her phone, followed by a message that said, 2 hours for 3 pieces of fake stone. I nearly apologized. Instead, I replied, "Which one did you choose?" She sent photographs. We discussed veining for 15 minutes as if nothing had happened. That was how our estrangement worked. It did not become silence all at once. It became conversation, with the center removed. A week later, I went into the basement with a tape measure. The room behind the laundry area was technically finished, though Tom had completed it during a period when brown paneling seemed respectable. Melanie's boxes occupied one wall. The rolled rug leaned against them. Her lamp, framed prints, and loose chair sat nearby. I pictured the room with a bed, fresh paint, and a sewing table beneath the window. I had not used my sewing machine since Tom's shirts became too painful to alter and too familiar to give away. I measured twice. Then I called Melanie. She answered cautiously. "Hi, I need you to collect the things in my basement." A long pause followed. "Why? I'm going to make that room usable." "It is usable." "As storage?" "What are you making it?" "A guest room and sewing room." "For whom?" "For guests." "And sewing." "Grant already has a room." "It is not Grant's room." "You call it Grant's room. He lives in Colorado. He does not need 2 rooms in my house. What's wrong with the basement the way it is?" "Nothing, if I want your sweaters to be comfortable." She did not laugh. "When do you want it gone?" 6 weeks. 6 weeks? I thought that was reasonable. "During the renovation. The renovation has been happening to my house, too." She exhaled through her nose. "This is punishment." "No. Punishment would be 6 days. What if we can't?" "Then decide what you want to keep and what you don't. Some of those boxes are Dad's." That stopped me. "They're labeled with your name. I packed things after he died. You couldn't deal with them." "What things?" "I don't remember." "Then we should open them together." "I don't want to do that right now." Neither did I. That's how they got 4 years older. She was quiet long enough that I heard a cabinet close on her end. "Fine," she said. 6 weeks. After the call, I took the green key to Louise's apartment. She opened the door, holding a curtain rod like a weapon. "You chose the blue?" I asked. I panicked. I held out the key. The green tape was still wrapped around the top. Louise looked at it, then at me. "I couldn't get it off," I said. That was not true. I had started at one corner and stopped. Louise set down the curtain rod. She did not make a joke. She took the key carefully. "I'll remove it," she said. I nodded. When she closed her fingers around it, I began to cry. Louise pulled me into her apartment without letting go of the key. The curtain rod rolled across the floor and struck the baseboard. "Sit," she said. "I'm fine." "You are crying in my doorway. That doesn't mean I need furniture. It means the neighbors are going to think I said something kind." She steered me toward the sofa. I sat because resisting Louise required better balance than I had at the moment. She disappeared into the bathroom and returned with a box of tissues printed with pink flamingos. I took one, then another. The first dissolved before it reached my nose. "It's ridiculous," I said. "Yes, I mean the key. I know what you mean. It is a piece of metal. Most upsetting objects are something less interesting when properly described." I wiped my face. I crossed out my own daughter's name. "You updated an emergency contact. I crossed her out. You could have written me on another line." "There wasn't another line." Poor form design. I laughed and cried harder. Louise sat beside me. She wasn't a person who touched people automatically. After a minute, she put one hand between my shoulder blades and left it there. "I didn't want to replace her," I said. "You didn't. It feels like I did. You gave a house key to someone who might need to enter your house. She had it when Tom was sick." "Melanie?" I nodded. Louise looked down at the key in her palm. "She was there a lot," I said. "Every day near the end. That's a lot, I know. Do you?" I turned toward her. She raised one hand. That was not an accusation. It was a question. "Everyone has questions for me lately. Stop surrounding yourself with intelligent people." She peeled at the corner of the green tape. I caught her wrist. "Wait." Louise stopped. The tape had lifted enough to reveal a bright line of brass underneath. Everywhere else, the key had darkened with age. "What?" she asked. "I don't know." We sat looking at it. Then I let go. Louise slowly unwound the tape. It came off in one long strip, tacky and curled with green fibers clinging to the metal. She folded it onto itself and dropped it into the wastebasket. The key looked naked. "I'll put it on the hook by my door," she said. "I will not use it unless you ask me or you fail to answer, and I have good reason to worry. Soup is not good reason. Depends on the soup. I stared at her. What? She said. Nothing. Aaron said something like that. I'm funnier than Aaron. You don't know him. I don't need to. She hung the key beside two others near her door. Mine was the only one without a label. Melanie sent a moving company estimate 3 days later with one sentence beneath it. This is what 6 weeks costs. I looked at the number. It was not small, but neither was it ruinous. It included packing materials, transportation, and 3 months of storage for objects she had not touched in 4 years. You don't need movers, I wrote. We can sort it together. Her response came an hour later. I'm busy. I know. Pick a Sunday. No answer. On Wednesday, I bought paint samples for the basement room. I taped 3 pale squares to the paneling, cream, gray, and a blue, so faint it looked like someone had described the sky to white paint. Louise chose blue. Marcy chose cream. Elaine said paneling was coming back and I should save myself the work. I chose blue. The sewing machine had been under a dust cover in the guest room closet. When I carried it downstairs, my arms began shaking halfway. I sat on the steps with the machine in my lap and remembered Tom bringing it home for my 50th birthday. He had wrapped the box in newspaper because he forgot gift paper. The sports section had covered the front, and an enormous photograph of a losing pitcher looked devastated on my birthday present. Tom had said, "He's upset because he knows what I paid." I had made curtains, pillow covers, and one disastrous jacket with sleeves that twisted inward. Then Tom got sick, and the machine became something I dusted around. I set it on a folding table beneath the basement window. The room still looked like storage, but now it contained an intention. That mattered. Melanie chose the final Sunday before the deadline. I was peeling the paper label off a new paintbrush when the bell rang at 9 in the morning. She stood outside in jeans and one of Aaron's old sweatshirts. Her hair was pulled into a knot that had given up on symmetry. No makeup, no clipboard. "You're early," I said. "I didn't sleep." "Is everything all right?" She gave me a look. "Sorry," I said. "Come in." She carried flattened boxes and a roll of packing tape. I moved to take them. I have them. I can see that. She walked past me and went straight toward the basement door. Aaron isn't coming. The installers are at the condominium. On Sunday? They're behind. So the kitchen is finally going in. Parts of it. What parts? The parts they didn't measure wrong. That sounded enough like the old Melanie that I smiled. She didn't. Downstairs, she stopped in front of the paint samples. "What is this?" "Blue. I can see blue." "You asked what I'm doing with the room." "I thought you meant eventually. I meant after the boxes leave." She touched one painted square. "This paneling is going to take 3 coats." "I know." "You'll need primer." "I know." "Who's doing it?" "I am." She looked at me. "You hate painting. I hate the first coat. The second one feels vindictive." Her mouth almost moved. Then she saw the sewing machine. "You're really doing this. That was the idea." Melanie set down the flattened boxes. 8 cartons stood along the wall. 6 bore her name. 2 bore Aaron's. The lamp and framed prints rested beside them. I had put colored stickers on everything. Keep, donate, decide. Melanie noticed. "You labeled my belongings?" "I labeled the choices. The belongings remain emotionally neutral." She pulled off a donate sticker from the lamp. "I want this." "Then take it." "There's nowhere to put it right now." "Storage." She set the sticker on the folding table with unnecessary care. We opened the first box. Sweaters. Grant had been right. They came from an era of Melanie's life when every piece of clothing had either a wide collar or a belt that served no purpose. She held up a brown cardigan with sleeves nearly long enough to mop the floor. "I love this. You looked like a depressed librarian. I was 26. Exactly." She folded it into the donate box. The next carton contained kitchen things: a fondue pot, chipped mugs, 2 casserole dishes, and a bread maker still wrapped in plastic. "You gave me this," she said. For your wedding shower. You told me married people make bread. I had hopes. You made bread twice and stayed married 46 years. Draw your own conclusions." This time she laughed. It escaped before she could stop it. The sound changed the room. We worked for nearly an hour without arguing. Keep, donate, trash. Melanie told me which former coworker had given her the mug shaped like a camera. I told her the fondue pot had been my idea because Grant once took me to a restaurant where we cooked meat in oil, and I spent the evening waiting for someone's sleeve to catch fire. Then we opened the fifth box. Tom's blue cardigan lay on top. Neither of us touched it. Beneath the sweater was his electric razor, a stack of puzzle books, 3 pairs of reading glasses, and the small radio he kept beside the bed. His slippers had been placed heel to toe at the bottom, as if he might step into them. I sat back on the cold floor. "You said you didn't remember what was in here. I didn't. You packed this. I packed everything." "When?" "After the memorial. I was here. You were upstairs." I picked up the cardigan. It no longer smelled like Tom. It smelled like cardboard and the cedar block Melanie had tucked into one sleeve. "Why didn't you tell me?" "I did." "When?" "Every day for 2 weeks." I looked at her. "You kept saying, 'Not today,'" she said. "The hospice bed had to go back. The bathroom equipment had to go. People kept bringing food and dishes they wanted returned. Dad's clothes were everywhere. His pills were in the kitchen, the bathroom, beside the bed. Grant flew home, but he had to leave after the memorial, and Aaron handled the bills while I handled all of this." Her hand moved over the open box. "I didn't ask you to." "No." "You cried whenever I picked something up, so I stopped asking and did it when you weren't looking." "That's not fair. You want fair now?" The words came out sharp, but her face crumpled immediately afterward. She turned away. I held Tom's cardigan against my knees. "I thought you wanted to be here," I said. "I did." "Then why are you talking like I forced you?" "Because I wanted to be your daughter. You needed me to be Dad." The basement seemed to shrink around us. I never expected that. "You called me when the furnace made noise. You called me when the television remote stopped working. You called me every night at 10 because that was when you and Dad used to talk in bed. I was lonely. I know. I had just lost my husband. I lost him, too." Her voice broke on the last word. I had no answer ready. Melanie sat on the floor across from me. For a while, the only sound was the furnace breathing behind the boxes. She picked up one of Tom's puzzle books. He had filled half a page in blue ink, then stopped in the middle of an answer. "I hated him for dying," she said. "So did I. And I hated you for needing me more than I could need you." I pressed the cardigan to my face, though it smelled nothing like him. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because every time I tried, you looked like you were drowning." I was. "I know. I was holding you up." The truth of it hurt in a place anger had protected. I reached across the open box. Melanie pulled her hand away, not dramatically, just enough. "I'm sorry," I said. She wiped her face with Aaron's sleeve. "For what?" "For making you responsible for all of it." "Yo, you didn't make me. Then why are you angry? Because you let me." That was different. Worse, perhaps, because it left room for both of us to be telling the truth. We sorted Tom's box slowly. The razor went into the trash. The glasses went to a donation program. Melanie kept the radio. I kept the cardigan and one puzzle book. Neither of us wanted the slippers, but neither of us could put them in the discard pile. We left them in the box by themselves. By late afternoon, 6 cartons had become 3. Aaron's 2 remained sealed. Melanie stood and stretched her back. "I'll send him for those." "By Friday?" She looked at me. "The 6 weeks ends Friday," I said. "I know when it ends. I'm just being clear. You're very clear now." There was weariness in her voice, not anger. At the top of the stairs, she noticed the emergency information envelope I had taped inside the basement door after Louise insisted. My medications, doctor's number, Grant's number, and Louise's contact details were printed on the front. Melanie read it. "Louise is your emergency contact?" I stopped 2 steps below her. Yes. Her eyes moved from the envelope to my face. Since when? Since you returned the key. She went very still. That wasn't what I meant, she said. What did you mean? I didn't say I wouldn't help you. You gave back the way to get inside. I can still help. How? You could call me. In an emergency? You know what I mean. No, I said. I don't think either of us did. Melanie looked at the envelope once more. Then she climbed the stairs and left me standing below it. I did not follow her. That may sound like restraint. It wasn't. My legs had stopped cooperating. I sat on the basement steps with the emergency envelope at eye level. Louise's name seemed enormous now, though I had printed it in the same block letters as everything else. Upstairs, the front door opened and closed. A few seconds later, Melanie's car started. I went back to Tom's box. The slippers remained heel to toe at the bottom. I moved them apart, then put them together again. Finally, I closed the flaps without taping them. Melanie texted that evening. Aaron will get his boxes Friday. Nothing about Louise, nothing about Tom, nothing about what she had said downstairs. I replied, that's fine. The next 3 days were full of ordinary silence. I washed the cardigan on the delicate cycle and regretted it immediately. Wet wool released a smell that was not Tom, but came close enough to make me sit on the laundry room floor. I dried it flat over 2 towels, one sleeve stretched longer than the other. Tom would have said that improved it. On Friday, Aaron arrived at 6, carrying 2 sandwiches and a roll of packing tape. One is turkey, he said. One is something they called Italian but did not explain. I'll risk the Italian. You're braver than I am. He looked down the basement stairs. How bad is it? Your boxes or the atmosphere? Boxes. Unopened. Then the atmosphere. Bring the sandwiches. We ate at the kitchen counter. His was turkey. Mine contained 3 meats, 2 cheeses, peppers, and enough oil to lubricate a garage door. Aaron unwrapped only half his sandwich. How's the kitchen? I asked. It has cabinets. That seems promising. None of the handles are on, so we open them by gripping the bottom. You'll develop strong fingers. The sink works. Both? We only installed one. Then where's the other? He stopped chewing. Aaron. In storage. With the cabinets? He nodded. Why do you own 2 sinks? Your daughter changed her mind. Which one did she choose? Ask me when she leaves the room. I laughed. He did too, though not for long. She's upset about the emergency contact, he said. So she told you. She's told me several times. I didn't do it to hurt her. I know. Do you? I'm trying to. He folded the sandwich paper into smaller and smaller squares. She thinks you replaced her. Louise has a key because Louise is willing to be responsible for one. Melanie would be responsible. She returned it. She was trying to make a point. She succeeded. Aaron pressed the folded paper flat with his thumb. I told her returning it was too much. When? After Christmas, not during. No. Why not? He looked tired enough that I immediately felt unfair, then resented myself for feeling it. I didn't know she had it in her pocket, he said. When she put it on the counter, I thought it was a key she wanted you to return. By the time I understood, everybody was already bleeding. That is dramatic. You married into Melanie's family. You know dramatic. She married you. Exactly. I'm the calm one by comparison. He smiled, but his eyes stayed serious. I should have said something, he added. Yes, I was angry too. At me? At the whole situation. At her. At myself. You walked into an argument neither of us wanted anyone to see. I left, but you saw it. That is not something I can undo. I know. What was the argument about? He shook his head. Not my business? Not only my business. That was fair. I disliked it anyway. He carried his boxes upstairs one at a time. The first held financial records and office supplies. The second rattled. What's in there? I asked. No idea. You labeled it. I was a different man 4 years ago. We opened it. Inside were cables, 2 broken keyboards, a desk lamp, a promotional water bottle, and a device neither of us could identify. Aaron held it up. This may control a satellite. It has a plug. Satellites need power. He threw away most of the contents and carried the rest to his car. Before leaving, he went back downstairs and looked at the blue paint samples. This'll be nice. I hope so. Grant staying here? If he visits, he will. He says he will. Aaron leaned against the doorframe. Mel might too, eventually. Melanie has a home, so does Grant. He let that settle. I looked at the folding table, the sewing machine, and the 3 remaining boxes. Maybe, I said. The storm arrived before the paint did. Rain struck the windows all afternoon, turned to sleet after dark, and froze against the bare branches. At 8, Louise called to ask whether I had batteries. Yes? Fresh ones? They're batteries. Not fish. Check. The flashlight in the kitchen drawer produced a weak orange glow. The batteries had expired 2 years earlier. I have candles, I told her. Candles cause fires, only if you light them badly. Do you have a way to light them well? I've been operating matches since before you learned to drive. That explains several historical fires. At 9:15, the lights flickered. At 9:20, the house went dark. The furnace sighed to a stop. The refrigerator clicked off. For a few seconds, I could hear nothing but ice striking the roof. Then something cracked behind the house. Not a small crack. A deep tearing sound followed by a crash that shook the kitchen floor. I found the flashlight and went toward the back door. The weak beam barely reached through the window. A thick branch from the maple tree lay across the porch roof. One end had punched through the railing and blocked the steps. I opened the door an inch. Wind forced it back against my shoulder. I stumbled, caught myself on the counter, and knocked the gravy boat from the drying mat. It hit the floor. The handle broke cleanly off. I stared at it in the flashlight's orange glow. Of all the things that had happened, that nearly finished me. I sat on the kitchen floor with the broken handle in my palm. My phone rang in the living room. I let it ring twice before remembering I was alone. Louise's name lit the screen. I heard something, I said when I answered. What? A branch hit the porch. Are you hurt? No. Did glass break? The gravy boat. I am trying to care. The porch railing might be damaged. I'm coming over. You can't use the back door. I know where your front door is. The storm is bad. You named me emergency contact. You don't get to become polite during the emergency. This is not an emergency. Then I'm coming for social reasons. She arrived 20 minutes later with a flashlight, bright enough to interrogate someone, and an overnight bag. The front storm door had frozen at the bottom. I pulled from inside while she yanked from the porch. It opened 3 inches and stuck. Use the side door, I called through the glass. Is it blocked? No. Is it locked? Yes. She lifted the bare brass key. For one strange second, I could not breathe. Then she disappeared around the house. The side door opened. Louise came in covered with sleet, dropped her bag, and put both hands on my shoulders. Any dizziness? No. Chest pain. Only from seeing your hat. She was wearing a red knit cap with 2 pom-poms. It was a gift. From someone who dislikes you? She hugged me. I let her. We spent the night in the living room under blankets, drinking tea heated on a small camp stove Louise produced from her bag. You carry a stove? I asked. I plan. You brought 1 saucepan. I did not plan dinner. The power returned shortly before dawn. In daylight, the branch looked less frightening and more inconvenient. The porch railing was split. 2 roof shingles had cracked. The back steps were blocked, but the kitchen wall and windows were intact. Louise made eggs while I called a tree service and left a message. Then she taped the gravy boat handle to the body so I would not lose it. I know someone who repairs ceramics, she said. It's not valuable. You looked like someone had shot it. It was Tom's mother's. Then it's valuable. She stayed until afternoon. I did not call Melanie. That wasn't punishment. At least I did not think it was. She had told me not to treat worry as permission to enter her life. I was trying to understand whether the same rule applied to mine. Aaron returned the following Tuesday for the loose dining chair. He had left it in the basement after fixing the rung. He saw the branch piled beside the driveway. What happened? Storm. Is the house okay? Yes. Are you? Yes. Was anyone with you? Louise stayed. His expression shifted. When? The night the power went out. Melanie doesn't know. I didn't think so. You should tell her. Why? Because she'll be upset if she hears it from me. Then don't tell her. I can't pretend I didn't see a tree beside the driveway. It's a branch. It has its own branches. I gave him the chair. He put it in his trunk and stood with one hand on the lid. Evelyn, she still wants to know when things happen to you. Wanting information is not the same as wanting responsibility. I think she wants both. Then she should say so. 2 hours after he left, Melanie's name appeared on my phone. I answered. What happened to the porch? Hello to you, too. Were you alone? When the branch fell, yes. And you didn't call me. The phone still worked. That is not what I asked. I called the person with my key. Silence. Then, very quietly, you're enjoying this. I stood at the kitchen window. The repaired gravy boat sat on the sill with a pale seam where the handle had broken. No, I said. I'm really not. You wanted me to know she has the key. You already knew she was my emergency contact. That isn't the same as giving her my key. It was never your key. It had my tape on it. You returned it. To make a boundary. Not to resign from the family. I did not remove you from the family. You removed me from the call list. You asked not to be responsible for access. I respected it. I asked you not to walk into my house, and then you returned the key to mine. I was angry. So was I. You knew what I meant. No, Melanie, I knew what you said. Her breath caught. I could hear a cabinet door open and knock against something in her unfinished kitchen. I would have come, she said. I know. Then why didn't you call? Because I was hurt. Because I wanted the returned key to mean what she had made it mean. Because some part of me had wanted her to discover that a door could close in both directions. I looked at the broken white porcelain. I didn't know if calling would be love, I said, or another way of refusing to let you go. For once, Melanie had no answer ready. Neither did I. The line stayed open. I could hear Melanie breathing. Somewhere near her, water ran briefly, then stopped. Say something, she said. I'm trying not to ask the wrong question. That's never stopped you before. The words were sharp, but there was no force behind them. All right, I said. What did you want me to do when you returned the key? I don't know. You must have wanted something. I wanted you to understand. Understand what? That I couldn't keep being the person who handled everything for you. You could have said that. I did. When? Every time I told you I was tired. Every time I didn't answer right away. Every time you asked me to come over for something you could have hired someone to do. Those are not the same as saying it. They should have been enough. For me to guess? For you to notice? I leaned against the counter. There it was again. Love as observation. Love as evidence collected from what the other person did not say. You wanted me to notice you were drowning, I said. I wasn't drowning. Then what? I was tired of standing in the water. I closed my eyes. Melanie continued before I could answer. After Dad died, every phone call from you made me panic. Even when you were calling about a television show, I would see your name and think something had happened. Nothing else could happen to him. It could happen to you. So you were afraid. Yes, and angry that you were making me afraid over batteries and gutters and forms. I didn't know. I know. The quiet way she said it hurt more than accusation. I thought calling made you feel needed, I said. It did. Then how was I supposed to know it also made you angry? You weren't. That doesn't make sense. No, it doesn't. That's why I handled it badly. I opened my eyes. On the windowsill, the repaired gravy boat caught the afternoon light along its pale fracture. Returning the key was your idea, I said. Yes. Aaron didn't ask you to. No. But you said, we. He wanted the code changed. That is not the same thing. I know. Why did you make it the same?" She took a long breath. "Because if it was only about the code, we would have had to talk about what happened Tuesday." "The argument?" "Yes." "What was it about?" She gave a small, exhausted laugh. "You really waited almost a month to ask again. I deserve recognition. Aaron thought the renovation was getting out of control. I thought he wasn't helping enough. He said I was turning every decision into a test he couldn't pass. Were you?" "I don't know. That usually means yes. Thank you." "You called me." "I called to ask about your porch. You also accused me of enjoying a branch falling on it. I accused you of enjoying Louise having the key. That part was closer." Silence returned. I could have protected myself with another joke. Instead, I said, "A small part of me wanted you to know what it felt like." "I know." "That was wrong." "Yes." Her answer came so quickly that I almost objected. Then I laughed once. To my surprise, she did too. "I don't know what we're doing," she said. "Neither do I. I don't want to be your emergency contact." The directness landed hard. Before I could speak, she added, "Not right now. I don't want to see your name and wonder if you're alone on the kitchen floor." "That is specific." "It happened to Dad. I know. I see it every time you call after 10. I gripped the edge of the counter. "You never told me that. I'm telling you now, all right? But I also don't want to find out from Aaron that a tree hit your house. A branch. Stop reducing it. I'm trying to be accurate. You're trying to make my worry unreasonable." The accusation was true enough that I had to let it stand. "What would have been acceptable?" I asked. "A message." "I'm okay. Louise is here. The porch is damaged. That's all. You would have called." "Probably. And then what?" "I don't know. Maybe you don't answer if you don't want to talk. We are very bad at this. We were good at the old way. The old way was making you miserable." "Not all the time. That was the first kind thing she had said about us in weeks." I sat at the kitchen table. "I'll tell you next time a tree hits the house. Thank you. I won't call you about the gutter. Thank you. The gutter is attached to the house, so there may be judgment calls. Text a photograph. Of the gutter? Of the tree." We did not apologize again. We did not decide what the key meant now. We ended the call because Melanie's installer arrived with the wrong drawer handles and began ringing her bell. Grant came the following Thursday. He stepped off the airport shuttle carrying one duffel bag and wearing a jacket too light for the weather. "Where's your coat?" I asked. "Hello to you, too. That's a jacket. It has insulation. It has a zipper. Those are not the same." He hugged me hard enough to lift my heels. "You got shorter. You got rude." I got altitude. He carried his bag upstairs, then came down 5 minutes later. "My room is gone. Your room is exactly where it has always been. It has floral sheets. Those were clean. And 3 framed pictures of birds. You liked birds. I liked one bird when I was 9. It was a very important bird." He leaned against the kitchen doorway, studying me. "You look good. You sound surprised. I'm being nice. Don't interfere." The basement room was not finished. The blue paint covered 2 walls while the other 2 remained brown paneling. Drop cloths lay across the floor. The sewing machine had moved to the laundry table, and Tom's box sat in one corner. Grant walked around slowly. "This is why you wanted Mel's stuff out." "Yes, I thought it was an abstract boundary room. It's a sewing room, with a bed, eventually. So a person could stay here. That is the purpose of a guest room." "Louise." "She lives 10 minutes away. Melanie." I picked up the paint roller. "Your sister owns a condominium with a partly functioning kitchen. That wasn't no. It wasn't an invitation either." Grant took the roller from me. "You missed a spot. I am between coats. You missed it between coats." He painted for an hour without being asked, though he criticized my edging and used too much paint. We argued about whether blue was a neutral color. "It's barely blue," I said. "It's blue pretending it doesn't want attention. Maybe I identify with it. No one has ever accused you of not wanting attention." I threw a rag at him. That evening, Melanie and Aaron came for dinner. It was the first meal the four of us had shared since Christmas. Melanie rang the bell once and waited. When I opened the door, she held a bakery box. I brought dessert. What is it? Cake. What kind? Does it have to submit identification? I like to know what I'm eating. Chocolate. Come in. Aaron carried wine. Grant stood in the dining room with his hands in his pockets, watching all of us like a referee who had misplaced the rules. Melanie hugged him for a long time. "You look thin," she said. "Mom said I look rude. You can be both." They began bickering over his jacket, and for a moment, Christmas returned without the decorations. Dinner was roast chicken, salad, and potatoes I made because I wanted to. Melanie noticed but said nothing. We talked about Grant's flight, the kitchen renovation, and the blue basement room. Aaron showed us a photograph of the installed sink. Melanie defended the cabinet finish before anyone criticized it. No one mentioned the key. After dessert, Melanie began clearing plates. "You don't have to," I said. "I know." She carried them into the kitchen anyway. Aaron and Grant opened another bottle of wine in the dining room. I followed Melanie. She rinsed a plate and placed it in the dishwasher. "You load from the back now?" she asked. "I always loaded from the back." "No, you started at the front and then complained when things blocked you. I evolved. That's encouraging." She found the container cabinet and opened it. Half the containers were gone. She stared inside. "Do I have all of these?" "Probably. I'll bring them back. Keep them. Are you sure?" "Yes." She closed the cabinet. I don't know whether that was generous or pointed. Neither do I. She leaned against the counter, the same counter where she had placed the key. "Grant said you told him not to take sides," I said. "I told him there weren't sides." That sounds suspiciously mature. "He told me I was making him referee. He told me the same thing. So we agreed not to talk about you. How did that go?" "Badly." I smiled. She looked toward the dining room. Aaron was demonstrating something with the corkscrew while Grant pretended to be impressed. "Mom," Melanie said, "I need you to know something." "All right. When I returned that key, I wanted you to come after me." I did not move. "I wanted you to say it was ridiculous," she continued. "I wanted you to tell me we were family and I couldn't just hand that back. You called it mutual respect." "I know. You said you didn't want me dropping by. I didn't. You wanted me to fight the boundary while respecting it?" Her eyes filled. "I wanted proof that I mattered for more than what I did for you." The answer was so contradictory, so painfully familiar, that I had no defense against it. "I thought the key was proof that I mattered," I said, "that you could still come in, to take care of things, to come home. I have a home, I know. Do you?" "Yes." She wiped beneath one eye before the tear could fall. "I wanted somewhere I could enter without having to perform," she said. "But every time I came here, there was something to fix, carry, decide, or hear about. I didn't know how to ask you here without needing a reason. You could have said dinner. I made dinner constantly, and then sent half of it home with me like I was a delivery service. You took it." "I know." We both looked toward the container cabinet. "I canceled your anniversary dinner partly because the agreement changed," I said, "and partly because I wanted you to feel what it was like not to have my house." Her face tightened. "I know. I'm sorry. Thank you." "I'm not sorry I got my garage back. I'm not asking you to be." We stood in the kitchen with the dishwasher humming between us. "What are we now?" she asked. "I don't know. I don't know how to be close to you without becoming responsible for you, and I don't know how to feel close without being useful. That sounds like the same problem." "Probably." She looked at me for a long moment. "Maybe we stop making the other person guess," she said. I nodded. From the dining room, Grant called, "Are you two solving the family?" "No," Melanie and I answered together. Aaron laughed. Melanie picked up the last dirty plate. "We should start smaller," she said. "With what?" She handed me the plate. "Coffee," she said. "Somewhere neither of us owns." We met at a coffee shop where a cup cost nearly as much as the sandwich Aaron had brought to collect his boxes. Melanie arrived 7 minutes late. I was looking for parking, she said. I wasn't counting. You looked at the clock when I came in. I wanted to know what time it was. That's what counting is. She removed her coat and sat across from me. Neither of us knew whether to hug in a coffee shop, so we didn't. A young man with elaborate facial hair called my name and handed me something topped with foam. I had ordered plain coffee. What is this? Oat milk, Melanie said. I didn't ask for oats. You ordered a latte. I ordered what you ordered. I drink oat milk. Why? It tastes good. It tastes like someone soaked a barn. She laughed, and the nervousness between us loosened. We talked for 30 minutes without discussing anyone's house. Melanie told me the countertop installer had drilled a hole in the wrong place, then stopped herself. That's renovation talk. I don't mind renovation talk. It usually becomes a favor. You can complain without giving me a job. She considered that. I don't know if I can. Practice. The drawer handles are crooked. That sounds terrible. They're only crooked if you stand directly in front of them, then stand to the side. She smiled into her cup. When the coffee was gone, I wanted to ask when we would do this again. I wanted a date, a time, proof. Instead, I put on my coat. Melanie watched me. You're leaving. We finished. I thought maybe we could walk around. In this weather, there are stores. Is there something you need to buy? Her expression changed, and I heard myself. No, she said. I thought we could spend more time together. Oh, it was such a small invitation, and I had almost missed it because it did not arrive carrying a task. We can walk, I said. We wandered through a kitchen store where Melanie examined every drawer pull without buying one. I did not offer to pay. She did not ask me to hold anything. At a display of gravy boats, she lifted a white one with a blue rim. This lip wouldn't drip, she said. Mine has character. Yours has surgery. She's recovering. Melanie set the new one down. I'm sorry I took it home. You buckled it in. Aaron buckled it in. That marriage has value. She looked at me, wary for half a second, then understood I was joking. We had coffee again the following week. Then she canceled the third because an installer needed access to the condominium. I read her message and felt the old panic rise. Of course, no problem. Whatever you need, I began typing. I deleted it. Thanks for letting me know. Choose another day when you can. She did. Sunday at 11. We were learning, not gracefully, that disappointment did not have to become evidence. Grant stayed 4 days. He finished the blue walls, left paint on the ceiling, and denied it while standing beneath the exact spot. I'm in Colorado most of the year, he said. You can blame me safely. You're 6 feet tall. No one else could reach it. Louise has a ladder. Louise would paint the ceiling on purpose. Before leaving, he moved the bed frame into the basement room and assembled it backward. The headboard is facing the window, I said. It's modern. It's wrong. Those are often the same. Aaron corrected it the next weekend. He came with Melanie to return my containers in 2 paper bags. Every lid had a matching bottom. I deserve recognition, Melanie said. You've done what civilization requires. I ran the dishwasher twice. Why? They smelled like onions. That is not the container's fault. Aaron followed me downstairs with his screwdriver in a small black case. The committed relationship, I said. They've expanded the family. He had bought 2 more interchangeable heads. While he fixed the bed, Melanie sat at the sewing table and examined the machine. Does this still work? I think so. You should make curtains. I was planning to. For the window? No, for the furnace. I'm trying to participate. You can help choose fabric. Really, if you promise not to explain beige to me. There are warm beiges and cool beiges, already regretting it. The 4 of us went to the fabric store. Louise joined because she said no one could be trusted after her curtain rod disaster. We disagreed over patterns until Aaron chose a blue and cream stripe nobody hated. At checkout, Melanie reached for her wallet. I've got it, I said. It's your room. You spent money moving the cabinets. That was our responsibility. Then the curtains are mine. She put her wallet away. No argument, no hidden accounting, just a purchase. I almost spoiled it by thanking her for not insisting. The room was ready by the time the trees began budding. Blue walls, striped curtains, clean rug, bed, and a narrow shelf holding Tom's radio. I placed his cardigan in the bottom drawer. The slippers remained in their box in the closet. I could not display them, and I could not release them. Marcy became the room's first guest when a pipe burst in the apartment above hers. She stayed 3 nights and complained that my mattress encouraged honesty. "What does that mean?" I asked. "It's too firm." I woke up remembering things. Melanie came for dinner on Marcy's second night. She looked surprised to find someone using the room. "It is a guest room," I reminded her. "I know, you sound offended." "I'm not. I just thought Grant would be first." So did he. He sent me an angry face. "What did you say?" "I sent him a photograph of Marcy in his old bathrobe. That was cruel. He needs boundaries." Melanie laughed so hard she had to sit down. That summer, she invited me to see the finished kitchen. The invitation came by text. "Dinner Friday at 7? Here. No work required. Please don't bring potatoes." I arrived at 6:58 carrying flowers. The building's front door opened with the code Melanie had once given me. She had not sent the new one. I rang her unit from the panel. Her voice came through the speaker. "Who is it?" "An intruder with flowers." The buzzer sounded. At her door, I knocked. Melanie opened immediately. For 1 second, we stood where the title of our trouble had always stood, me outside, her deciding whether to let me in. Then she hugged me. "You're early," she said. 2 minutes. That's early for our family." The kitchen looked beautiful. The cabinet finish was warmer than white and not remotely cheap. The handles were straight unless I stood in front of them and tilted my head. Aaron cooked fish. Melanie made a salad. I sat at the counter drinking wine and did nothing. It was surprisingly difficult. "Are you sure I can't set the table?" I asked. "It's set," Melanie said. "Water? Poured? Napkins?" Beside the plates. I could check the oven. Aaron pointed a wooden spoon at me. "Sit." I am sitting. Emotionally. I don't know what that means. It means you've opened 3 drawers. I was looking. For work. He was right. I folded my hands in my lap. After dinner, Melanie showed me where everything had gone. Her serving dishes fit inside the new cabinets. The second sink had been returned. She donated the bread maker. When I left, she walked me to the building entrance. "Do you want the code?" she asked. I stopped. "For the front door," she said. "Not our unit, just the building." "Do I need it?" "If you come over. I can ring." "You can." "Does it bother you?" "No." "Then let's keep ringing for a while." She nodded. I worried she would hear rejection. She did not appear to. "Text when you get home," she said. "Is that a request or a monitoring system?" "A request." "All right." In August, I caught a cold. Melanie learned because I sneezed through our Sunday phone call. We'd developed a habit of speaking Sunday mornings, though neither of us called it scheduled. "You sound terrible," she said. "I sound congested. That's what a cold is." She went quiet. The old conversation stood between us, waiting. Then she said, "Would you like soup?" I smiled into the phone. "Yes. Do you want me to bring it or leave it on the porch?" "Bring it." "What time?" 4. "Should I ring?" "Yes." She arrived at 4:12 carrying chicken soup and wearing an expression that dared me to mention the time. I opened the door before she rang a second time. She stepped inside, put the container on the counter, and did not inspect the refrigerator, touch the thermostat, or ask whether I had taken medication. "Do you need anything else?" she asked. "Tea." "Do you want me to make it?" "Yes." She stayed for an hour. We watched half an episode of the British detective show. Melanie guessed the murderer in 11 minutes and then criticized everyone for living in a village with such poor survival rates. When she left, she took the empty teacups to the sink but did not wash them. Progress could be measured in strange things. In October, she called me at 9:30 at night. I almost panicked at the hour. "Are you all right?" I asked. "Yes." "No, I don't know." Where are you? At home. Is Aaron there? He went for a drive. The old questions crowded my mouth. What happened? What did he say? Are you fighting? Is your marriage all right? I swallowed them. Do you want advice? I asked. Or do you want me to listen? Melanie began crying. Can I come over? She said. Yes. She arrived 20 minutes later and rang the bell. I made tea. She sat at the kitchen table where the key had landed 10 months earlier. She told me she and Aaron had argued about hosting Christmas. Aaron wanted to invite Rebecca and her partner, along with friends. Melanie wanted it smaller. He accused her of trying to control the evening so nothing embarrassing could happen. Is that what you're doing? I asked. I said I wanted you to listen. You did not. You cried when I offered options. I want listening with light questioning. Define light. She almost smiled. We talked until midnight. I did not solve her marriage. She did not ask me to. When Aaron came to pick her up, he waited on the porch. Melanie went outside to speak to him. After a few minutes, they came back in together. Aaron looked at me. We're sorry it's late. You're adults. Thank you for letting her come. She asked. Melanie glanced at me. The two words meant more than Aaron knew. Before they left, she turned beneath Tom's wooden angel. We want to host Christmas, she said. All right, at our place. All right, and we want you there. I looked from her to Aaron. As a guest? I asked. Melanie's face softened. As my mother, she said, you can decide what that means. The invitation arrived in the mail a week later, though Melanie could have texted the details. Christmas Day, 4:00. Please bring yourself. Tucked inside was a small handwritten card. The building code is 1946. Use it if you want. Ring if you want. We will answer either way. I placed the card beside the repaired gravy boat. Then I opened the junk drawer. For the first time in almost a year, I did not look for the green taped key. I took out a blank gift tag and wrote Melanie's name. I tied the tag to a box containing a pepper grinder Melanie had admired in the kitchen store. It was absurdly tall and required both hands to operate. She'd picked it up, checked the price, and put it back so quickly the movement almost looked accidental. I bought it 3 weeks later. On Christmas morning, I made coffee and ate toast. No turkey waited in the oven. No potatoes sat peeled in cold water. I had not ironed Tom's linen tablecloth or arranged 12 serving dishes across the counter. The quiet felt wrong at first. Then it felt luxurious. At noon, Grant came downstairs wearing flannel pants and one sock. You're not cooking? He asked. I was told to bring myself. Did you explain how rarely you follow instructions? You are welcome to stay home. Where's the food at Melanie's? This family has taken a dangerous turn. He opened the refrigerator and stared inside. There are eggs, I said. On Christmas. Chickens are not religious. He made himself scrambled eggs and used 3 utensils when one would have worked. I watched without correcting him. Almost. You're scratching the pan. You gave me this pan when I moved. I gave you a different pan. You gave me $20 for a pan. I spent it on pizza. I knew that money disappeared. He grinned and turned the eggs with a wooden spoon. Grant had slept in the blue basement room the night before. At breakfast, he claimed the mattress still encouraged honesty but said the curtains looked professional. Louise chose them, I said. Aaron told me you did. I approved his choice. That sounds more like you. At 3:30, we carried the gifts to his rental car. I locked my front door and checked it once. Louise had gone to Marcy's for Christmas dinner. The bare brass key remained on the hook inside her apartment, where it had been all year. She was still my emergency contact. Melanie knew that and no longer mentioned replacement. Grant drove too fast on side streets and too slowly on the main road. You're upsetting everyone, I told him. I'm creating balance. At Melanie's building, he started to enter the code. I'll do it. He stepped aside. The numbers on her card had already become familiar in my mind. 1946, the year Tom was born. Melanie had not pointed that out. I had not asked whether she chose it for him or whether the building assigned it by chance. The door unlocked. We rode the elevator to the 4th floor. Grant balanced 3 gifts in one arm and complained that I had wrapped his in a box clearly meant for shoes. It may be shoes. It's heavy. You have heavy feet. At Melanie's door, I rang the bell. Grant looked at me. You have the building code. This is the unit door. I understand architecture. Then why are you confused? The door opened before I could ring again. Melanie wore black pants, a red sweater, and an apron that said, "Everything tastes better with butter." Her hair was pinned up, though one piece already hung beside her face. "You're exactly on time," she said. "Write it down." I did. I have witnesses. She hugged Grant first because his arms were full. Then she turned to me. For half a second, the year stood between us. The brass key on my kitchen counter, her coat left in the car. Aaron packing my Christmas food while my daughter told me she no longer wanted me arriving unannounced. Then Melanie opened her arms. I stepped into them. "You came," she said against my hair. "You invited me." She held on a little longer. From the kitchen, Aaron called, "Is that Evelyn? Ask her nothing." I heard that, I called back. That was the idea. Melanie took my coat but did not reach for my purse. I hung it on a chair myself. Rebecca and her partner Dana were in the living room with wine. Grant joined them and immediately began telling Rebecca that the pepper grinder under the tree might be a musical instrument. Melanie looked at the presents I carried. "You brought something. You said not to bring food." I said, "Bring yourself." I brought myself and consumer goods. That's technically disobedience. You'll recover. The finished kitchen looked lived in now. A coffee ring marked one section of the counter. A dish towel hung crooked from the oven. The cabinet beside the sink had a small dent near the bottom. I liked it better that way. Aaron stood over a roasting pan, spooning butter onto a turkey that had developed one very dark wing. "What happened?" I asked. It turned faster than the rest of the bird. "Turkeys don't turn." I rotated the pan. "Then you turned it." He pointed the spoon at me. "No work required." I asked one question. "You were about to ask 6 more in different clothes." Melanie smiled without looking at me. I sat on a stool. It took effort. Dana poured me wine. Rebecca asked about the blue room, which Melanie had apparently described to her. Grant said the mattress had changed him as a person. No one asked me to set a table, peel anything, or locate a missing platter. After 20 minutes, smoke began leaking from the oven. Aaron opened the door. A gray cloud rolled out. The smoke detector shrieked. Melanie grabbed a dish towel and waved it beneath the alarm. "Why is it smoking?" "Butter," Aaron shouted over the noise. "Everything tastes better with butter," Grant said. "Not the smoke detector," Rebecca replied. I stood. Melanie looked at me. "Do you want help?" I asked. The question seemed to reach her through the alarm. "Yes," she said, "please." I opened the balcony door while Grant removed the detector battery. Aaron transferred the turkey to another pan. Melanie stared at the blackened drippings in the bottom of the first one. "The gravy," she said. "We can make it without drippings," I told her. "How?" "Broth, butter, flour. Will it taste like gravy? It will taste like broth, butter, and flour. That is most gravy." She handed me a saucepan. I did not take over the kitchen. Aaron stirred while I added flour. Melanie seasoned. The first batch turned into paste. "This could repair the porch," I said. "We should keep it," Aaron said. "The cabinets aren't finished." The second batch worked. Dinner reached the table 40 minutes late. The turkey was dry near the dark wing and nearly perfect everywhere else. Melanie's potatoes had lumps. She watched me take the first bite. "They're good," I said. "You don't have to lie." "I'm not." "You hate lumps." "I have survived greater disappointments." "Is that about the key?" The table went still. Then Melanie smiled. I smiled back. "It was about the potatoes," I said. Grant raised his glass. "I would like recognition for not refereeing that exchange." "You've grown," I told him. "Altitude." We ate until everyone relaxed enough to admit the turkey was dry. The old version of Melanie would have treated the ruined drippings like proof the whole evening had failed. She would have apologized between every course, watched our plates, and asked whether the restaurant would have been better. Instead, She spread more gravy over her turkey. Next year, she said, we ordered Chinese food. Bears documentary afterward? I asked. Aaron looked confused. What bears? Don't, Melanie said. It ends badly. After dinner, I started carrying plates to the kitchen. Melanie touched my arm. You don't have to. I know. Are you doing it because you want to? I am carrying 2 plates, not signing a contract. That wasn't an answer. Yes, I said. I want to help. Then scrape. Don't wash. What if I want to wash? I'm hosting. So now there are rules. There are always rules. We looked at each other. Then we laughed. That was the difference. Not that we had stopped hurting each other. Not that every old sentence had lost its edge. We could hear the echo without mistaking it for the present. Aaron washed. Grant dried badly. Rebecca packed leftovers. Dana found matching lids in the correct drawer. Melanie handed me 1 small container of turkey. I don't need this. It's lunch. The turkey is dry. You said it was nearly perfect. Every family needs polite lies. She added a 2nd container of potatoes. I'm returning both containers, I said. I trust you. Reckless. We opened gifts in the living room. Grant received boots, not shoes, and accused me of manipulating his expectations. Rebecca gave Aaron a book about home renovation mistakes. Melanie laughed until he pointed out that she had already made 4 of them. When she opened the pepper grinder, she stared at it. You remembered? You picked it up. That was months ago. I'm observant. That's what ruthless people call it. I looked at her. Elaine, she said. Louise quoted her. She should provide attribution. Melanie stood the grinder on the floor. It nearly reached her knee. We'll have to redesign the kitchen. Put it in storage. She laughed. Her gift to me was in a soft rectangular box. Inside was a dark blue cardigan. For one frightened second, I thought of Tom's sweater in the basement drawer. Then I lifted this one out. It was new, soft, and exactly my size. You always say restaurants are cold, Melanie said. I do not always say that. You bring a sweater and then leave it in the car. It ruins the line of my coat. No one understands what that means. I put the cardigan on. It fit. Thank you, I said. She folded the empty tissue paper, pressing the edges flat. Some habits survive because they are habits, not wounds. At 9, Rebecca and Dana left. Grant went downstairs with Aaron to look for a bottle of bourbon supposedly hidden behind the flour. Melanie and I were alone in the kitchen. She wiped the counter slowly. Did you have a good Christmas? She asked. Yes. Really? The smoke alarm was aggressive. Other than that. Yes. She nodded and continued wiping a spot that was already clean. What? I asked. Nothing. You're cleaning emotionally. That's not a thing. It is now. She set down the cloth. I thought about giving you a key. To this place? Yes. I waited. I had one made, she said. Where is it? In the drawer. Which drawer? She pointed to the cabinet beside the refrigerator. I did not move toward it. I decided not to wrap it, she said. It felt like I was trying to fix everything with the opposite gesture. That would have been symmetrical and stupid. Symmetry often is. She leaned against the counter. I want you to know you're welcome here. I know. Do you? You invited me. You opened the door. But what if there's an emergency? Then you and Aaron should choose someone you're comfortable having a key. I'm comfortable with you. Are you comfortable with me entering? If it's an emergency, we didn't agree on what counts as one. Fire. Yes. Water coming through the ceiling. Yes, a bear. Unlikely on the 4th floor, it would be an emergency. Agreed. She smiled, then became serious again. What if I want you to have it? Then keep it in the drawer until having it doesn't need to prove anything. Her eyes filled, but she nodded. I don't want Louise to stop being your emergency contact, she said. She won't. I want her to call me if something happens. I told her to. You did. After the branch. Why didn't you tell me? I'm telling you now. She wiped beneath one eye. "I don't need to be first," she said. "I just don't want to be outside. You aren't. Neither are you." The words were simple. That made them harder to distrust. Aaron and Grant returned with the bourbon, which had been behind the rice, not the flour. We poured a little into 4 glasses and stood around the kitchen island. No one made a toast. We didn't need to announce that the family had survived. Survival was not the same as repair, and repair was not a finish line. It was Aaron handing me the better chair without being asked. Melanie letting a dirty pan soak until morning. Grant changing the subject when conversation approached a bruise that did not need pressing. At 10:30, I put on my coat and new cardigan. Melanie walked me to the unit door. Grant was staying with her and Aaron that night, partly because I refused to give up the blue room to a man who claimed its mattress insulted him. She handed me the paper bag of leftovers. "Text when you get home," she said. "I will." "And Mom?" "Yes?" "The building code is yours. You don't have to ring downstairs. I used it tonight." "I know. I saw the log. That feels like surveillance." Her face fell. "I'm joking. Your jokes still need work. So do your potatoes." She opened the door. I stepped into the hallway, then turned back. The key she had considered giving me remained in her kitchen drawer. My old green-taped key remained with Louise, its tape gone. No one had undone Christmas with a piece of metal. "When should we have coffee?" I asked. "Sunday, 11? Make it 11:15. Parking." "All right." She hugged me once more. When the elevator arrived, I stepped inside. Melanie stayed in her doorway until the doors began to close. For most of my life, love had meant entering before I was asked, anticipating what needed to be carried, and keeping every door open so no one could leave me behind. Now my daughter stood inside her own home, and I stood outside it. Neither of us was shut out. Just before the elevator doors met, she lifted one hand. "See you Sunday, Mom. See you Sunday." The doors closed on a promise small enough for both of us to keep.